Okay, everyone, welcome. Special broadcast this week. Special extra class. In the 3 weeks, we have to add more light. And in order to break, or add the last straw that will finally break the camel's back of the exile. And, break through. So we began a fantastic mimer last week, Thursday night, a Moshiach mimer. I am going to make myself a bit more this. I'm going to get the other chairs. Just in case I fall asleep, at least I'll fall asleep on a comfortable chair. The listeners can sleep without a comfortable chair because they're listening. That's prone to falling asleep. The one who's saying needs extra special something. In any case, so we began this last week, Thursday, and it's got 104 pages. I gave the whole introduction last week, what it is, a special mimer from the Mittler Rebbe on the ideas of Moshiach. He said it in front of Rabbi Akiva Eger, just astounding. It's a fascinating mimer. We're talking so much about Moshiach, this mimer gives us like tremendous insight. Anyways, the mimer began with a whole discussion regarding the coming of Moshiach, whether it's dependent on two opinions, whether it's dependent on the Jewish people doing tshuva, or whether it's something that has to come at a certain time. And he brings all the opinions of the Gemara Masechta Sanhedrin, where the Gemara discusses it first as an argument between Rav and Shmuel. Rav says that the Jewish people need to do tshuva. Shmuel says that it's enough for the mourner to be for a certain amount in his mourning, and then the Golus has to come to an end. The Gemara then says, let us then say that this is an earlier argument between sages. Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua had similar argument. And he goes through bringing all the opinions, all the back and forth between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Eliezer holds that Ein Yisroel Megalim Ela B'tshuva Ma'asim Tovim. The Jewish people will only be redeemed only if they do tshuva and repentance and good deeds. And Rabbi Yeshua says that if the Jewish people are not doing tshuva, God will force them to do tshuva by appointing upon them a king that will kind of drive them to tshuva. And in the end, there is all kinds of proofs, one to the other. In the end, it says Rabbi Eliezer concedes. Rabbi Eliezer is silent, which seems that Rabbi Yeshua won the debate, seeming to imply that it's not necessary that we do a tshuva, or at least it's not necessary that we do a voluntary tshuva. After he presented that whole idea, he asked a couple of questions. On Rabbi Eliezer, he asked the question, how come Rabbi Eliezer doesn't mention good deeds? He only mentions tshuva, not ma'asim tovim. Usually it's tshuva and ma'asim tovim, good deeds and tshuva. On Rabbi Yeshua, he asked the question, how can it even be that the Jewish people don't do tshuva and yet we have Moshiach? It doesn't make any sense. And then he went ahead and I also failed that he also brought the statement of Rabbi Yochanan, in which Rabbi Yochanan says that Moshiach will only come either in a generation that is completely righteous or in a generation that's completely guilty or corrupted. And he says, how can that be? I mean, he wants to connect that. Remember last week, he wants to connect that if we say Mashiach will come in a generation that's completely righteous, well, that fits with Rabbi Eliezer, who conditions the coming of Moshiach to the righteousness of the generation. He depended on tshuva. The other opinion of Rabbi, the other to say that it's all corrupt fits with Rabbi Yeshua, who says tshuva is not necessary. But he asked the question, how can we conceive two things? How can we say that the whole generation is corrupt We know that the sages say even the sinners of Israel, are filled with mitzvahs, like pomegranates. You can't have a complete, that doesn't work. And on the other hand, how can you say you need a generation that's completely righteous when we know that there isn't even one tzaddik that's completely righteous? So here we're talking about the whole generation. That was basically the discussion at the beginning. Oh, and then he also brought the idea of what it says, Be'ita achishena. He brings from Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. It says in the pasuk, it says, I, God, Be'ita in its right time, achishena, I will rush it. So first he brings which one is it? Is it in the right time, or is Moshiach coming at a set time, or does God rush it up? So he brings what it says, that if we do tshuva, it will come earlier. If we don't, then it will come in its time. In other words, if we do tshuva, we have an achishena Moshiach, which is consistent with Rebbe Eliezer, who says it's dependent on tshuva. If we don't do tshuva, we have a be'ita, a set time, like Rebbe Yeshua, who says even if we don't do tshuva, there is a certain end to darkness. No matter what, there's a deadline, or there is a due date when Moshiach must come. So was that. But then he brings a very interesting idea that there is a concept of both together, Be'ita and Achishena. And Be'ita and Achishena means that even though it's possible that Moshiach, if we don't have exceptional good merit and early tshuva, then Moshiach has to come what we call in a time of Be'ita, in its ultimate time. But within the ultimate time itself, Be'ita Achishena, Hashem is going to rush the Be'ita. He's going to move that time to an earlier time. In other words, he's going to uproot time itself and make that time come earlier. So it's the end time, because we don't merit to have it earlier. It has to come in its time. But God can reshuffle time itself. That's what I'm getting the way. He's taking the Be'ita time and moving it earlier. And that can be, remember, we learned in one of three ways. Either because God will inspire us to do tshuva. We will, in other words, the tshuva, the Hashem, it won't be, again, if it's our tshuva, we don't have to wait for the time. We can get Moshiach anytime. We don't have to wait for the time of the Geula. But if it's not going to be our tshuva, and we need Hashem to stimulate the redemption, even if Hashem is doing it by stimulating tshuva, that we should do tshuva, it's still called His stimulation. And since it's His stimulation, that's one way in which we have to wait for the time, but God can uproot that time and bring the time of the Geula earlier. Be'ita achishena. That's one way. Or it can be because because the suffering we've been through calls for the time of the redemption to be moved up earlier, quicker. Or it can be that God is doing it for His own sake. Not because of our tshuva, not because of our suffering, but for His own, lamani, for my own name. Hashem will do it. Okay. That's the general discussion we had regarding the question of the time of Moshiach. To understand all of this, he says he went into a whole discussion in this we know it's a mimer, a pasuk in next week's Torah portion, Parshas Devarim, where God instructs the Jewish people through Moshe. Moshe tells the Jewish people that God told them we should not start up with the Moabites. And actually, this week in the Parsha Matos Maseh, we see that the Jews went to war against Midian. They killed all the Midianites to take revenge for what they did in causing the Jewish people to sin. But even though it was a joint venture of Midian and Moav, the Jews did not attack Moav, only Midian. And one of the reasons given for that is connected to what we're talking about now. Moav, we were told by God not to touch. So he goes into a whole discussion. We know the initial promise when the Eibishter promised Avram Avinu I will give you the land, God promised Avram the land of 10 nations, which the land of 10 nations includes the lands of Moav and Ammon, which are the two children of Lot, who he had illegitimately from his two daughters, Moav in the cave. So there's Moav and there is Lot. Moav and Ammon. And the third nation is Edom, the land of Esav. So these are three nations. They all border the land of Israel. And these are all lands that God gave to the Jewish people, to Avram Avinu. But yet, when the Jews came into Eretz Yisrael through Yehoshua with Joshua, Moshe had instructed them earlier, don't touch Moav, Ammon, and Edom. Why? It's not meant for us. So hold it to the question. We were promised those lands. How come we didn't get it? So he explained, even though we didn't get it now, we will get it in the future. That's the second phase of the gift. The first phase of the gift is the land of 7, and then eventually we'll get the land of 10. So he's asking, what's the panemius, what's the explanation in the difference between the land of 7 and the land of 10? How come the land of 7 we got immediately and the land of 10 we didn't? So we had a long discussion last week, which we're not going to review, but just in short, the purpose of the Jewish people going into the land of Israel was not just to have a land. The purpose of the Jewish people going into the land of Israel was so that we can do our work in elevating the entire planet, elevating the entire universe, elevating the world. How do we elevate the world? We do a fixing. We do a repair. This is the big repair job that we need to do. And that is that we need to elevate the sparks of holiness. And even though the sparks of holiness are scattered across the entire planet, but their root was in the 7 nations that live in the land of Canaan. And that's the root of the sparks. And when we fix the root, then we're going to be able to get the sub little fragments are going to be already easier to elevate. But we need to get to the root, which was in Eretz Yisrael, the 7 nations. These 7 nations represent the 7 core divine emotions that collapsed as part of a primordial breakage that God set in motion when he created the universe, in order to bring about the drama of history. Or else there wouldn't be anything. The world would just be life would be very simple and unentertaining. In order for it to be entertaining and interesting and ultimately rewarding, not just for God, but rewarding for us as well, it comes as a result of this cosmic repair. And the Jewish people are at the epicenter of this repair job. And what is it that we do? 7 broken emotions, which are 7 divine emotions, which are very, very powerful. They emanate from the world of Tohu, which the world of Tohu was the first order in which God emanated energies to create the world. But because it was such an intense radiation of God's light, it collapsed. The vessels couldn't contain it. Now those vessels that broke were 7 emotions. It's almost like, sounds strange, but it's almost like someone who has 2 of an intense emotion and they get a breakdown, a nervous breakdown. It can happen. So it's almost like that's what happened in the cosmic, when the emotions got overly excited, too intense, and it caused a breakage. Those are divine emotions. All 7 of them broke. They collapsed. And that's our job of the repairing. Now, that repair job is done in Eretz Yisrael, because that's where most of the sparks of holiness have descended, as we said, into the physical earth. And that's why those 7 nations that live there represent the 7 emotions. And they're the root of the 70 nations. And we explained last week that those klipos, once it's shattered, you have deposits of divine energy that are mixed and entrapped in powerful, powerful forces of unholiness. And they need to be extracted. And once we extract those energies and bring them back to their place, all of the world all evil will be eradicated, and our physical earth and all of its inhabitants human and even animal and even earth will suddenly become immensely enlightened and immensely aware of God, intrinsically aware of the Creator in a very, very powerful way. And as a result of that, there won't be any harm anymore between nations, between even the animals. Everything, the world will enter a blissful state of peace, of harmony. And that's the work of the Jewish people throughout the exile. So we began in Eretz Yisrael, and then after we do the root tikkun in the land of Israel, we go off to the offshoots across the world. And that's what we've been doing for the last 2,000 years. We've been entering into everybody's kitchen and doing repair work. When the people in the home saw that there's someone laying on the floor doing repair work in their kitchen, they took hot water and they poured it on us. And not realizing that we're the ones who are repairing the plumbing system of the entire universe. It's basically what we've been doing. And we had to do it in these hostile places. In other words, the very people that we are fixing their world have been hostile to the fixers. And that's been anti-Semitism. While those that were doing, which were in every country, were doing the repair. That's the reason we were given only the land of 7 nations. Because the repair has to be in the 7 emotions. That's all that needs to be repaired. Now, in addition to the 7 emotions, we all know that part of and last week we discussed, I'm going to go over it, remember how the Meraglim were there terrified to go into Eretz Yisrael. They were scared because these powers, Tohu, the world of Tohu, is far more powerful than the world of Tikkun in terms of brute strength. Like Esav is stronger than Yaakov. Physically. And energy is like... And therefore, Yaakov is the little guy. He has to outsmart his brother, but he's at a disadvantage when it comes to physical strength and might and power. Esav is the big brute, right? So the world of Tohu is powerful and strong. So they were afraid that they were going to go into the land, they were going to be completely crushed. The giants of the land are going to completely destroy them. It was a big mistake. The mistake that he explained is that the powers of Tikkun, which are the power of the Torah and the power of the Jewish people, even though it's minuscule compared to the ginormous forces of Tohu, which are like huge mountains. We spoke last week, Tohu is like emotions that are not reason-based. They're like essential emotions, like emotions that are just purely embedded or emanating and flowing directly from a person's soul, unhindered by reason and logic. And we all know that's when we're crazy. That's the stubbornness that we sometimes get. And we get like a crazy thing and we don't want to let logic get involved. And it's in those things that we're very powerful in. Like there are certain areas in our life that we operate through reason and logic. And in those areas of reason and logic, we can argue, we can debate. And then if someone shows us that their way is better, we're willing to concede. But then there are these few little things that sometimes we get so stuck up on that we're not going to budge for no reason at all, even though we know it doesn't make any sense. It's just the way it is. And that's why we spoke last week, that we saw that people that operate on irrational emotion, people that operate like people that are lacking in their mental ability to like screen their energy, screen their emotions, we call them, crazy people. They're very, 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 very strong-willed. You can have sometimes 10 police officers trying to hold down one maniac. Physically strong because the emotion is gushing forth without any filter. It's like pulling the filter out from a water pump. So the water is gushing like a powerful fire hydrant, but you can't stop it. As opposed to, so therefore, the Jews who are coming from Tikkun, which is already a filtered, it's emotions. We also have emotions, our neshama, but they're filtered by reason. and as energetic as you are based on an understanding and appreciation of something you're excited about it can't compete with being excited about something that's just a raw energy it's not being stimulated and driven by the mind. It's like a little toothpick next to a powerful wave. So that's what the Meraglim were arguing with. The secret, what the Meraglim didn't realize, is that the world of Tikkun, which is the root of the Jewish souls, Yaakov Avinu, and so on and so forth, is rooted in God even before the world of Esav, pre-Tohu. Even though we make our way into creation as mitigated, tiny little reasonable, rational creatures that are working with reason and logic, but the real underlying power that's behind it is the source from where the entire realm of Tohu comes from. The being that precedes even that intense world of Tohu desired the world of Tikkun to fix the world of Tohu. And therefore we have the omnipotence of God. The ability to do the impossible, which is what? To harness these powerful forces of Tohu and to direct them, stop them where they need to be stopped, direct them where they need to be directed, crush them where they need to be crushed, extract the energy and direct it to holiness. We have the power to do so. And that's the power of Yaakov we learned last week. And that's the secret we learned last week has to do with, even though Esav is older than Yaakov, Esav came out first from the womb. And that represents that the world of Tohu is mightier, more powerful. It's coming out first. Yaakov is this tiny little baby holding on to the heel of Esav. But we learned that in pregnation, Rivka became pregnant with Yaakov first, in conception. Why? Because the idea was that we learned that in a tube, two things go into a tube, the one that goes in first will come out last. So Yaakov is really older. Yaakov went in first. He came out second. Spiritually, that means that in the original thought of thoughts of all of existence, rooted in the quintessence of God, is the repairman. Not the big, ginormous mess, but the repairman who's going to fix the mess. And that's the powers of Yaakov that is going to fix his brother Esau. In any case, back to the land of the 7 and the land of 10. The reason why we're not given the land of 10 nations. Right? Remember all this coming together now? A little review of Thursday? Good. So the reason why we weren't given a land of 10 was because there are 10 attributes altogether, and there's 2 sets of them. Okay? There is the original set, as we spoke earlier, that collapsed, and then there is the more controlled second order of Sfirot, which is called Tikkun, which is has not collapsed, right? Which survived, which is much weaker. But now, we spoke of the collapse of 7 emotions, but there's also 3 intellectual faculties. The 3 intellectual faculties of the world of Tohu were slightly damaged, but they didn't break. Now, when I say they were slightly damaged, it's as follows. He refers to those 3 not as the traditional, we're used to referring to the first 3 as Chabad. He refers to those 3 powers as Keser Chachma Bina, Kachab. Das, for whatever reason, is now being omitted. We're analyzing Keser, which is the fountainhead of life, and then Chachma and Bina, which is the first 2 powers. So he says like this, Keser wasn't impacted by the shattering of the vessels at all. The only thing that happened to Keser was that it went into concealment, it went into a dormant state. It's asleep. Meaning it was expressed and then it went back into non-expression. It didn't shatter. Chachma and Bina descended. They didn't break, but they descended. Meaning some of their energies did get polluted to a certain degree. That's why we can have in this world not only corrupted emotions. Everything evil in this world is related to corrupted emotions. As we spoke last week, a murderer, a killer, a cheater or a liar, someone whose passions are running amok, and because of their lusts and desires can do horrible things. So you see, everything that's wrong with the human condition and with the world has to do with various different perversions of essentially good emotions. But when they get perverted in the wrong stuff. So that's what humanity's been plagued with. Each person has to fight their own battles. Because we all have tendencies. We all have various different drives that are not good, that we need to weed, pull it out, fix it, extract the energy. That process of this extraction. So primarily, the real bad corruption in the world is the corruption of the 7 emotions. There is also the corruption of the intelligence. But that's much less. It exists, but it's much less. And even when it is, it's a source for really bad stuff, but it itself is not yet really bad. That's the concept of unholy disciplines, unholy chachma. It's when wisdom goes amok. It's when knowledge gets perverted. It's not an emotion. So that's the klipa that's the unholy elements of Ammon and Moav. Ammon and Moav are the 2 intellectual powers of Chachma and Bina. Moav is Chachma because it's called Av, father, and Ammon is the letters Noam. Noam means pleasantness, which is Bina. Bina is pleasant because that's where pleasure reveals itself, and that's what pleasantness means. Pleasure. So Chachma and Bina of the Klipa. Now that's the idea of Chachmas Chitzonis, which means unholy knowledge. Now our main work, because they're not so corrupted, our primary work in this world is fixing the 7 emotions and not the 2 intellectual powers or the 3 intellectual powers. The Chabad doesn't need that much repair, but it still needs to be repaired. So we learned last week an interesting thing. We get to do the work, and we don't get to. Hashem promised Avram Avinu the land of 10 nations, because in the end, we're going to have the full manifestation of all 10 powers of Tohu. We're going to have a full revelation of all those 10 powers in this world. The world will be perfectly synchronized with its source. The 10 attributes of Tikkun will facilitate the 10 attributes of Tohu, which is the powerful revelation of God's full persona into the world. We will be in full communication with the deepest, most intense powers of Hashem, both the emotions and the intellect. But we don't have to do direct work to influence the intelligence. The primary work that we need to do is fixing the emotions. That's the land of the 7 nations that we work. Once we do the repair in the 7, and that's what we're holding, this is the part that we're learning about right now, automatically the 3 powers of the divine intelligence, Keser, Chachma, and Bina, will reveal themselves. Remember we said they got more private, more concealed, will reveal themselves. Now, but hold it, we never repaired the 3, or at least the 2 powers of intellect that need repairing. I said all the time until Moshiach comes, we're not repairing it. We're repairing the 7 emotions, the 70 nations, the seven elements, not the intellect. So how can we have now a revelation of the godly powers of Keser, Chachma, and Bina from the world of Tohu if there are still elements of them stuck in the Klipa? And the answer is this: to fix the intelligence, the powers of Chachma and Bina that got misconstrued and perverted, so to speak, doesn't take that much work. All we need is a revelation of holy intelligence, and a powerful revelation of holy intelligence will suck all the energy out from the unholy intelligence. And it will automatically fix itself. In other words, it will be a self-repair. As opposed to the repair in the 7 midos, it's not something that we can do with passivity. It's something that needs an aggressive, proactive tikkun. And that's why the Jewish people were only charged with fixing the 7 emotions. And the order of the way it works is like this. And let's follow the orders. It's very important for the understanding of what we're learning today. Once we fix proactively through the struggles that we all go through, each and every one of us is part of this repair. It's primarily the Jewish people fixing the non-Jewish world. But what that also means in our own little space, our Jew inside of us fixing our non-Jewish body, in the sense to say that what I mean non-Jew, we're all Jews, but what I mean to say is that our natural state of the body before we make it Jewish through Torah and mitzvot is very much a body, and especially it also has an animal soul. And that nefesh ba'amis, an animal soul and the body, is prone to all kinds of unhealthy desires, addictions, attachments that are all need fixing. So when we do the repair through life, through all the times we apply the mitzvot in our daily living, which consistently causes a scrutiny of intellect, of the mind. Which mind? The divine mind. Because we're applying God's mind, which is the Torah, to our emotions and filtering our unbridled emotions that generally want to go everywhere, just by everything it sees at once to grab a piece of, right? And everything we check with the Torah. So if I want to do something, say something, think something, move something, eat something, dress something, sleep something, marry someone, anything, every time I have to consult kosher, non-kosher, right or wrong. You realize those constant, it's amazing if you think about it, that constant consultation and the constant either permission or non-permission, the constant guidance of Torah, how to live in a constructive manner, the way God wants us to live. We're constantly funneling our energy into good things, into the right things, and pulling out the energy that wants to flow into the negative and extracting it out of there. No. And if, God forbid, we fall, like happens sometimes, and we do make a mistake, so we do allow our energy flow into the wrong things, we do tshuva and we pull it out. And through the regret. And not only do we pull it out, but we pull it out with extra. With some extra that was there before we even got there. We pull it out. So it's really amazing. As we do this tikkun in our own small little world, the tikkun is happening cosmic in the universe. That's the Jewish repair. So, again, nowadays we do the tikkun in the 7 emotions. And that's the primary tikkun. And that's what we need to do hands-on, aggressively. And the Jewish people did it in 2 phases. First, primarily the mitzvah observance was meant to be in Eretz Yisroel, the land of the 7. And then, because of exile, we go out into a broader field to pick up the leftover sparks that are everywhere scattered around. When we're done, the next thing that happens, Moshiach comes, to be finished, gathers the Jewish people to the land of Israel. At that moment, the well springs of wisdom will come gushing forth, infinitely higher and deeper than the well springs of wisdom that were revealed at Sinai. Because the well springs of wisdom that were revealed at Sinai was in the divine intelligence. But the divine intelligence, we're going to learn about that today, the divine intelligence, in as much as it is directed towards repairing the world. It's directed towards the repair of the 7 emotions. So it's the intellect that governs the emotions. It's not pure intellect. It's meant to do a fixing. That was given to us at Sinai, at Har Sinai. The pure independent intelligence, the pure, or rather let's call it transcendental intelligence, the higher intelligence of God, the mochen kishala atzmon, the mochen, the intellect as they are for themselves, was not revealed at Sinai. Will be revealed in the revelation of Torah that's going to come through Moshiach. What's that? That is a flow from Keser, Chachma, and Bina. And what's going to happen? Automatically, when Kedusha is going to experience such incredible knowledge, and the Jewish people will suddenly and be filled with knowledge that is like beyond, that knowledge will kind of bring about that all ideas, sciences, and which make up the secular pool of knowledge, the unholy, it's not holy, not necessarily bad, but unholy knowledge, will become instantly nullified to Kedusha, to holiness. Because it will see it has no match to the powerful wisdom of holiness. So we will not have to engage it through debate and argument. It will dissolve instantly. So that repair, that's what I said, will fix itself. Oh, and it's exactly at that point that we will be given the land of the 7. That's what it means. We will conquer the unholy lands, which are the unholy intellect, these 3 countries, Ammon, Moav, and Edom, Keser, Chachma, and Bina of Klippa, will automatically become Jewish. The world's mind will become a Jewish mind. Now let's understand something. And with all of this, we will then be channels of this deeper, higher wisdom of course, for ourselves, but for all of humanity. So the order is the repair in the 7 emotions. Once that repair is done, the Hizgalos, the revelation of the 3 intellectual powers from above, which repairs the 3 unholy, powers of the intellect. That's the idea. We only need to understand, why is it when we finish repairing the 7 nations, why is it that suddenly we have this, why is it that once Moshiach comes, because we finished already the repair, how does that trigger the revelation of the higher 3? And the idea that he explained earlier was, and this was again the last point of the last class, the idea is, because the fallen sparks of the world of Tohu, which have fallen down into what we call Shem Ban, the name of 52 of God, the name of Malchus, which is called the land, the earth, and ultimately here in the physical world. The name Ban is really rooted in Bina, in the world of Samach Gimel, which is Bina. It's the name of God associated with 63, which is that world of Tohu, the Keser, Chachma, and Bina of Tohu. That's where these sparks are really rooted. Once you finish the repair in them, Malchus then rises upward automatically into Keser. Once she rises into Keser, she's automatically stimulating the faucet, opening up that faucet, that powerful flow, or she now becomes receptive to be able to receive the great powers of Keser, which include Chachma and Bina, as they are embedded in Keser. So that's why once we finish the land of the seven, all that rises up to its source. Or more specifically, we might say like this, and hear this idea. Why did when God gave us the Torah, did he only give us the external part of the Torah? Why didn't God give us these deeper secrets immediately? We weren't mature, but there's another reason. These secrets that we're talking about are private. They're secrets. They're private. What I mean is they're not transmittable. They're lodged, so to speak, very, very deep in the realms of the pre-intelligence. They're there in the potential intellect, if we can say, of the divine. And therefore it's not communicatable. It's not even within the cosmic consciousness. It's not even with, so to speak, God's mind, if we can say. It's like all the ideas you haven't thought of yet. Right? You have a lot of ideas. You haven't thought of it. It's there. Now, you have a brain, so you have potential for them. It's not there. Something, and we all know that, like, we can say that most of our potential we never realize. We don't even actualize it. Our brain potential, our ability to conceive ideas will remain untapped. That level is called darkness. It's darkness because it's pre-revelation. Revelation is light. So that's if you think about it, that kind of darkness is darkness that's above light, not below light. Precedes light. It's because it hasn't yet revealed itself. So how are we going to stimulate that darkness to reveal itself? And the answer is, as a result of our work down here of turning darkness into light. But what kind of darkness? The Chazarai darkness. When we do the impossible, given a world full of corruption, full of darkness, and convert that darkness to light, we stimulate the supernal darkness also to be converted to light. It's for that reason when we're done fixing the 70 nations, when we're done fixing all these sparks of holiness, when we're done fixing these collapsed, the 7 emotions that have collapsed, turning them around and elevating them. So darkness has been converted to light. Primarily, not through, and it's interesting, that's primarily not so much through Torah and mitzvahs. Because in Torah and mitzvahs, we're not converting so much darkness to light. In Torah and mitzvahs, what we're doing is we're separating the good from the bad. The real ultimate conversion of darkness to light comes from tshuva. When we've made mistakes and we've done stuff, and then through our immense pain that we feel and regret, and we want to return to God, and we use the negativity that of our past to fuel our desire for a deeper connection. So all the junk, we might call it all the fertilizer, is now turned into fuel. Like in Israel, they came up with the science a couple of years ago. Israel has a problem. Problem, Israel has a very small country. And land resources are very precious. For such a small country, you can't even see it. It's smaller than a Jersey. So the land resource is very precious. So the problem is, what do you do with garbage? Other places, you have these landfills. You have enough space, you can dump the garbage in. But Israel can't afford to dump its garbage on precious land. Every inch of the land of Eretz Yisrael is so precious. So we should make sure we're keeping it in Jewish hands as well. But in any case, so what did they come up with? They came up with the science of converting waste into fuel. That's tshuva. That's why that's why the Israelis came up with that. Not just do you figure out where to put it. Take that itself and turn it into energy. Tshuva, you're taking your negative things, converting it, darkness to light. That stimulates above, that the choshech of the potential intellect, so to speak, of God to reveal itself. The Keser Chachma Bina. That's the reason why after the period of the 7 emotions of Tohu being elevated, we have that increased godly revelation from above of the divine intelligence, which then, as we said earlier, fixes the unholy intelligence, whatever needs to be fixed. This is the point where we're holding now. So I'm holding now with you on page, we were holding on page Yud Daled. And I'm going to go back quickly to page Yud Gimel, okay, to read this part again. V'shayrish Inyan, and the root of the matter is Lefishala Achar Habirur. He's explaining why, after we elevate the sparks, after we're done, the sum totality of elevating the sparks, it causes a powerful revelation from above. Through the name Ma, which is the name of the fixer, 45 is the name of the fixer. That's the Jewish neshama, and the Jews, and the Torah, which is 45. It goes up to its supernal source in the level of Samach Gimel, which is Sag, what he said, the Bina. Because the name Samach Gimel, remember there are 4 names of God, Yud Kei Vav Kei, the tetragrammaton have gematria, 72, 63, 45, and 52. So I want to just add one interesting idea. 72 is in Chachma, 63 is in Bina, 45 is in the 6 emotions in Ze'er Anpin, and 52 is in Malchus. Malchus is where all the shattering and the breakage is, the debris fell. The name 45, which is the Ze'er Anpin, which is the source of the Jewish neshama and the source of the Torah, fixes Ban, fixes Malchus. When 45, which is the 6 emotions, fix Malchus, an elevator, Malchus rises into Bina, which is 63. And that's why she stimulates from Bina that powerful light, as we spoke about earlier. The Toyu, Shalamayla Meshemba, which is higher than the name 45. Kimavur be'etz Chaim, as explained in Eitz Chaim v'Dai Lamev. Ubagdam mezu Yuvan v'Yitur Etzakushia. Now we'll understand what we mentioned earlier. When we complete the fixing of the 7 midos of the world of Tohu, when the 52, when the Shem Ban, which has fallen into Noga is the Klippa, the unholy, Be'eretz Yisrael, and where do we do the fix? We do it in Eretz Yisrael. Al Yedei, and how do we do the fix? Al Yedei Torah mitzvahs, through Torah mitzvahs. Shebe Shema, because Torah and mitzvahs are, how many mitzvahs are there? 613. That's how many limbs there are in a human. The name Ma is Gematria Adam. Adam is Daled Mem 44 plus Aleph 45. So mitzvahs is the name of Ma. Yud Kei Vav Kei, it's the power of Tikkun. The Jewish neshama is also called Adam, man. Man fixes, we spoke last week, ban is gematria behema. Man has to fix animal. Animal is purely an emotional being. Adam is an intellectual being. We use the intellect of Torah, the holy intelligence, to fix the emotions. Then it goes up into the level of Samach Gimel, the Bina, Bibchinas HaKeser Anal, canal in Keser. Because you remember one idea, that Bina, Chachma, Keser are a unit. Once you're entering into Bina, you already have access to Chachma, and from Chachma you have access to Keser. So these three go together. Sheyair, and therefore it will shine, Gam Mebchinas Gimel Rishonos. So this will cause that it will illuminate and it will shine forth also from the first three, the Keser Chachma Ubina, of Keser Chachma Bina, Bebchinas Makifim El Yoinim, these encompassing powers will, from the world of Tohu, all this will begin to shine forth. The Oz, and as a result of these lights, as we spoke earlier, the next birur, the next rectification, which is of the negative, the perversion of intelligence that happened in the world as well, that doesn't need hands-on repair. That happens automatically. Once you have revelation, it will repair itself. And that's what he explains now. Then there can be a birur, there can be a purification of Allah and an elevation, the Keser Chachma and Bina, of the Keser Chachma and Bina, the crown, the wisdom and the understanding, the Klipas Noga of Klipas Noga, Shehem, which they are those three nations of Akeni, Knizi, and Kadmoni, who are really Edom, Ammon, and Moav. Shehem, Edom, Ammon, and Moav. Edom is Keser, Ammon is Bina, and Moav is Chachma. Keniska, as we said earlier. Let's skip the parentheses now. Ach, b'bchinas habidur d'shema d'yosher d'tikkun l'bchinas. But he says this fixing. Ach, b'bchinas habidur d'shema. When we do the bidur of the name of Ma, the yosher. Yosher is the power of tikkun. He says yosher the tikkun, the power of oros pekalim, lights and vessels, whatever. I'm not going to get exactly what they're calling it yosher over here, but the idea is it's the name of Maav tikkun. When we do the tikkun, this hands-on repair that we spoke earlier, that we've been doing for thousands of years, the struggle that we all have within our own space of being confronted by all kinds of negative emotions and sorting it out according to the Torah. Libchinas noiga, when we fix the noga element through our power of neshama, and the power of Torah. Kashem is bared in bchinas zun de klipas noga. When we do a bitter in the lower parts of klipas noga, because remember, klipas noga is an entire configuration. The klipa noga, which is the unholy, which is the shell, is an entire configuration. It also has chachma, bina. It actually has keser, which is its skull. Chachma and Bina, the brains of the Klippa. And then there is the 6 emotions of the Klippa, and then there is the Malchus of the Klippa. Our main repair is in the lower 7, which is the Malchus and the Ze'er Anpin of the Klippa. That's where we're doing the repair. That repair, Shem Azayin Midas, which are the 7 Midas. When we do that repair, as B'nei Kol Yoser, then it's where we have to concentrate all of our efforts currently in our days until Moshiach comes. As b'nei kol yoser, then it becomes easier. B'chinas bitter, the kachab, the keser chachma bina shebaham canal, which is in them, as we said earlier, it becomes already easier to fix the keser chachma bina. Why? Why does it become easier? So he gives you a very interesting rule. In kedusha, the higher you go, the more powerful it is. So the keser of kedusha is very powerful. The Chachma and the Bina of Kedusha, Chabad of Kedusha, is less than the Keser. The emotions of Kedusha are less than the Chabad. And the Malchus of Kedusha is the weakest. In Klippa, it's the opposite. The Malchus of Klippa is very, very tough material. She is the most resistant. She is the lowest and therefore the most vicious and evil Klippa. The masculine side of the 6 emotions of the klipa are pretty bad, but not as tough as malchus of klipa. The chachma and the bina of klipa are already closer to truth. And finally, the keser of klipa is surrender to God all the time, even before its repair. And that's what he's saying over here. Ki malchus de noiga kasha makula. The malchus of noga is the most difficult of all of them. Ubchinas dchar, and therefore compared to malchus, which is the feminine side of the klipa, that's why you're seeing today that all the forces, I mentioned this last week, that are standing up against the final push towards Moshiach in the repair in the world are all females. They're all driven. The squad and all these, it's a powerful force. It's a women's force. It's interesting. Because that's the last holdout. Ubchinas dechar, the male side of the klipa, the male side of the klipa is easier for it to come to a state of bittul and surrender to elokus, to the divine. Because it's higher. Remember, the klipa is tougher in the lower. Ubchinas chachma bina, and the chachma bina of klipa Bam yoyser l'bchinas bittul, come even quicker to a state of bittul, v'hiskalalus and integration. Ubchinas hakeser shenikra atik yom in the klipas noiga, and the keser that's called atik yom in of klipas noiga, nizbatel has been surrendered v'nichlal and absorbed bekeser the kedusha and keser of holiness already from way back then. Shekola gavoya hagavoya beklipas noiga. Everything that's higher in klipas noiga, batal kedusha biyoser, has a greater bittul to kedusha. Therefore, less effort needs to be put into the repair. And therefore, once we fix the lower 7, all we need is a powerful revelation of godly light in kedusha, and the others will self-repair. That's what we mentioned earlier. In that maimer. It's a shame I didn't get a chance to look up this idea. B'yoymahu yigalach Hashem and b'zoyer al pasuk ish ki yamorit. Okay. Uke'inyan timcha zecher amolek. Veraya, and the proof to this is mebitul Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar, from all the klipas, when you line them up into one wild beast, Nebuchadnezzar is associated with the crown. Because Daniel says to him, you are the crown, you are the head. And that's why we find that Nebuchadnezzar was more attentive than the other klipas. Nebuchadnezzar believed in God, as opposed to Sancherib and others. Total atheists, total non-believers. He's the keser, he's the crown. Like he said to him, you are the head of the gold. And this general idea that the klipa, the lower you go, the more resistant it is, the Orachaim says that it's easier to fix the male of klipa, but the female, hapila kama pa'amim, she was thrown down a few times, va'amda, and she stood up again. Not easy. Ayin sham. Look over there. V'day lamev. Now, he's asking, this is just a, last week I stopped over here because I thought this was a major question. He just parenthetically for 2 lines brings one question. He sees we find the opposite, be'inyan ayam parim dechag. When it comes to the 70 cows that we offer on Sukkot we know we have to do a special effort to repair the nations. And that's why we offered in the Holy Temple 70 cows, corresponding to the 70 nations. This meant to bring an elevation into Noga, into the Klipa of Noga, and to elevate it. We find that the bulk of the sacrifices, we offered on the first day. We did 13 cows. And then on the second day of Sukkot, we were down to 12. And the third day, 11. And the last day of Sukkot, Hoshana Rabbah, we only do 7. So 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10 plus 11 plus 12 plus 13 equals 70. So it's explained, why do we go down? Because on the first day, we're dealing with chesed of the klipa, which is the first emotion. So we need a lot of power of kedusha to negate it, to beat it. Second day, we're dealing with the second emotion, which is gevura. So we only need 12 powers of holiness to overcome it. By the time we're done to the last day, we're only left with malchus of klipa. So all we need is only 7 cows, 7 karbanos, 7 sacrifices, drawing down 7 lights to overpower the force of malchus of the klipa and to elevate him. So based on that calculation, you see that the chesed of the klipa is stronger than the malchus of the klipa. Because on the last day, you only need 7. Here you need a full-blown attack. 13 cows. So how does that work? We were saying the opposite. That when we're confronting the female element, which is the malchus element of the klipa, she's very tough. So he says, the first day is the powers of chesed of kedusha. Makrivim yud gimel parim, we do 13 cows. Umismatim v'orolchen, and we cause the klipa to be diminished. Al derech zeh. So l'chora, that seems to contradict what we're saying. Ayin tiritz l'zeh, look for the answer. Bebir v'drish to ayin parei achag al pasik halos Hashem. There is an explanation in that in a certain mimer. And he doesn't give you the answer over here. He just asks the question. You can look up the answer over there and see how we reconcile this. Fine. Now he goes back to the idea that we said earlier. Why is the malchus of klipa so strong? Why is she so strong? So he explains. Mishim du mebchinas ha-malchus de kedusha. Because from the malchus element of kedusha, from the shechina, from the power of malchus of kedusha, mekabel malchus the klipas noga. Every level corresponds to its corresponding level. So the malchus of klipa receives from the malchus of kedusha. The ze'er anpin of the klipa, the 6 emotions, receive from the ze'er anpin of kedusha, and so on. That's how they're set up face to face. Now you would think the higher you go, the more powerful it is, which is true in holiness. So why isn't it in klipa the way? The answer is because the higher attributes that are receiving from the higher forces of kedusha, because in the higher forces of kedusha there is more godly revelation, so there's more voltage over there. The klipa has less access because it's too intense, the light. So they can they can nibble, but very little. And therefore they're pretty emaciated because they can't get too much. There's too much godly, the higher you go, the God. Malchus is where the energy of holiness is the most reduced, because Malchus is a source for creation. It's a source for the finite. So the energy is the most reduced and the most concealed. Since it's the most concealed and the most reduced, the klipa is able to access it more and usurp more energy. And that's what he says over here. The mepchinas ha-malchus the kedusha makabel malchus the klipas noiga ki'inyan. Where do we see that? That first he wants to prove that the malchus of klipa receives from the malchus of kedusha. It says in the Medrash, Lo nismal etzur ela mechurbuno she Yerushalayim. It says there's 2 cities that are the antithesis to one to each other. Jerusalem is the capital of holiness, the capital, not just of holiness, the capital of the divine empire of Malchus the Kedusha, that's Yerushalayim. The opposing force is the city of Tzur. How do they call it in English? They have a certain name for the city of Tzur. And it says they represented the power of, let's say, the Roman power, even though, I don't remember what. So the Gemara says that these are like a seesaw. When Jerusalem is standing, Tzur is down. When Jerusalem was destroyed, Tzur rose. So you see that the powers of Klippa, of Malchus of Klippa, derive their energy from this destruction of Jerusalem. They go in for the kill. They take the energy. They don't have anything on their own. If they had something on their own, they can have their own economy without needing Jerusalem to fall. It's really what's happening is that the flow that's meant to go to Jerusalem ends up going to them. That means they're stealing it from there. Shesham, now, being that, now back to the idea. Since in Malchus there is a lot of judgments, meaning the light is the most diminished. Shesham tachlis adinim. Over there is a lot of judgment. Hakashim etzada hester de lavush sak. Because there is a concealment of a lavush, of a garment of sackcloth. Meaning in Malchus there's a lot of concealment. And therefore there is more room for the klipa to go in and take. We once spoke about this, how come women, therefore, general, because they're malchus, have more susceptible to impurity than men in halacha. Because the women are so much closer, because they're so much part of creation of the world, as opposed to the male energy, which is more removed, and therefore less access. But that's why the women make a bigger difference, because they're more engaged, more involved. So it's like the troops that are like more embedded in the enemy territory for the repair. So it works. That's why the snake, same idea, that's why the snake got to Chava, not to Adam, not to Adam. He got to Adam through Chava. But once we do the fixing of ban, of Noga in Eretz Yisrael. Now, again, so the Malchus of Klippa is very strong. And that's why we have to concentrate in Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael was once the Malchus of Noga. That's where the 7 nations lived. That's where the work was. That's the land, the Malchus element. Land is Malchus. It's the Malchus of all 7 nations. The Malchus element of in every Midah itself, there is a Malchus. Eretz Yisrael is the Malchus, where the intensity of Klippa was very strong. That's why we know, as we mentioned last week, the nations who lived in the land of Israel before the Jews came in were the most corrupted nations. And therefore, they bitter ban the noiga be'eretz Yisrael. Through this bitter of ban the noiga of Eretz Yisrael, ba'u l'sharshai b'samach gimel. Didn't we say that earlier? That when you raise the sparks go up to their source, into samach gimel, as we said earlier, keniskaliel. And that's why, v'zeu, and therefore, she'im ha'ya shleimus, and what happens, it triggers a great revelation, and then the klippas that there are in the mind get fixed very quickly. And v'zeu, and this is the reason, she'im ha'ya shleimus ha'birudim b'zayim midas tetoyu b'yamei Shlomo. If in the days of Shlomo we could have finished doing, if in the days of Shlomo, now the problem is with Shlomo, not the problem, but that was the downside, or should I say the weakness, or it's not a weakness and it's not a downside. It's just that the lack that there was in the days of Shlomo. Why Shlomo Melech couldn't conquer all 10 nations? Why? Because we didn't finish yet the repair of the 7 in those days. He says, if we would have already had the completion of the birudim of the 7 midos of Torah in the days of Shlomo, gam bepnimius. Now, we had it bechitzonius. How do you know we had it bechitzonius? Because we owned the entire land of Israel then. The 7 nations were under us, but it wasn't thorough yet. It was considered b'chitzonius. If it would have been then already the completion, like it's going to be in the future when Moshiach comes, when we will have completed the repair, then what would have happened? Then the klippas would have been subdued completely. So there would not have been a destruction of the first temple. First temple would have stood, would never been destroyed. Vadai definitely. Then definitely what would have happened is that the three intellectual faculties, the powers of Keser, Chachma, and Bina, of Kedusha, would have emanated, would have shown forth. Remember, now we're only receiving from the lower seven. We're not hitting on the first three in holiness. The Keser, Chachma, and Bina of Kedusha would have been downloadable. Had Shlomo HaMelech finished the completion of fixing the 7 midos, the Kedusha. And then Shlomo HaMelech was the wisest of all men, would have been infinitely wiser. He would have been like Moshiach. The Rambam says Moshiach will be greater in knowledge than Shlomo. Way beyond. Because he will have access to Keser Chachma and Bina, to the Pnimius of Keser Chachma and Bina. V'oz memela. And then automatically, once those lights would have been shining, remember, what does it take to reveal the lights of Bina and higher? The conversion of darkness to light. Had we completed that conversion, so then what would have happened? There would have been that revelation. Memela, as I mentioned earlier, it would have self-repaired. It would have automatically done a birur in the first three of the Keser Chachma Bina of Klipas Noga, because as we said earlier, it's not so strong over there, the Klipa. So it would just shine a little light and the darkness goes away automatically. You don't have to wrestle with it. The Afal Pisha Bechitzonius, now even though he says in the parentheses, externally, Edom, Ammon, and Moav, Kavushim, Tachas, Malchus, David. Externally, Edom, Ammon, and Moav were kavush, were subdued under Malchus David. See, even though it wasn't annexed to Israel in the days of King David, they were still subdued. David HaMelech defeated the Moabites, and he conquered the Edoms as well. But he never annexed their land, and the reason is because it wasn't ready for it yet. As he says, that's why we see that they were under Jewish control, but they didn't convert. They didn't transform them. The ultimate transforming of Edom, Ammon, and Moav will happen only in the days of Moshiach. Because the job was not finished. We made a lot of headway in the time of the first temple. But we didn't complete it. And since we didn't complete it, the klipa was still there, laying low, waiting for a moment that we start sinning, and they can gather up strength, and that's what happened, and then come back with a counterattack. They threw down the Beis Hamikdash, grabbed back a bunch of energy, and became even stronger. So the pendulum swung in their favor. That's what he says. Achatu b'bayis rishon. They sinned, we sinned, the Jewish people sinned in the first temple. U'b'bayis sheni, and in the second temple. V'nechrav Beis Hamikdash, and the Beis Hamikdashes were destroyed. V'galu Yisroel, and the Jewish people went to exile. And what does that mean? Jewish resources are now being, think about it, what does exile mean? Spiritually, it means that all the energy that was going down in the Beis Hamikdash is now coming down on Rome. And it also means physically, the Jewish brains now went to serve their Gentile, and Jewish resources. All were taken into the klippas. That's what it means. V'netoisev koyach v'yanika. Now it added strength, the yanika, and more energy, b'malchus the klipas noga, in the malchus element of klipas noga. Kemaimer, as we said earlier, lo nesmalet tzur. Tzur was not filled only from the destruction of Jerusalem. The reisha shchivis la'afra, the head which is the Shechina, Malchus of Kedusha, is lying on the ground. Viznava, and the tail is wagging up. The Klippa, which is the tail, is waving its tail in the sky as if they are the rulers, and the Shechina, Malchus of Kedusha, is being trampled on the floor. An upside down state of exile. V'loy oid, and not only that. Now, it would have been one thing had it ended, had we stopped the leakage when the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. But the leakage did not stop. Through the many sins of the Jewish people during exile, and the many sins of the Jewish people, the whole door in every generation, it causes more energy to flow into the Sitra Achra, into the other side. We give them power. Much more than God budgeted for them initially. That's the point. They pull in much more than what they're meant to have. Ki yadu, as it is known, the ein yanika sarah, that evil doesn't have power. Rak min hatoiv de kedusha. They can only have power from holiness, from the good of holiness. V'kashe yumshach. Now, how does the good energy in holy go to them? So when good people do bad stuff, that's when you're opening up a leak. Frightening. When good people do bad stuff, it gives them energy. They don't have energy on their own. They can only receive it from the world of goodness. But when good is being good, then there's no leak. But when good is being bad, that's when the holy is pouring its energy into the klip. So that's what he says. V'kashe yumshach min harasha betov. When from the bad stuff that the good people do, yumshach lahem toisvis yanika, then they get a much greater infusion. K'moshe yadu, as it is known. This idea that klipa can fluctuate. Sometimes they're receiving just bare minimum, and sometimes they get big bonus checks. Sheyadu, it is known, sheyesh gam besitra de kedusha. Well, the same as in holiness. There's the basic budget that God budgets for kedusha, for holy, that he designates from their each level, and then as an increase of our Torah and mitzvahs that we do, we cause an enormous flow of additional light and energy in holiness. So just like we see that our actions can bring extra energy in kedusha, to bring an incredible influx of intense, more light in holiness. Bebeis madregas, in the two levels. What are the two levels that there is in holiness? Echad b'bchina shoresh. One is what is given as part of, allocated as part as the essential budget. That Hashem has predetermined how much each creature and each being will receive, each level will receive. And that we must receive. Basic bread and peanut butter. But then there's the extra, b'bchinas tosefes, the addition. Right? You want already to have, something extra. That already is going to cost you some points. Sheyesh gam besitzer de kedusha beis madregas. I would say beis b'chinas tosefes. Ki yadua be'inyan. Gimel Rishayne is the Shemona Esrei, ve'emtzai the Shemona Esrei. The difference between the first three blessings of Shemona Esrei and the middle blessings. The first three blessings is basic download. Basic. The middle blessings, the 12 middle blessings of Shemona Esrei, is additional channeling, added extra that we bring as a result of our mitzvahs and so on and so forth. We're asking God, give me more atachone, give me more das, give me more this. It's all addition. So just like in Kedusha we see, there is basic, and then there is an additional based on our actions. The same is Kachazelu Umazeh Asalakim, one opposite the other God made, which is a phrase to illustrate how the unholy mirrors and reflects Kedusha. Sheyachali is b'chinas toisvis yanika b'sitra achra, yoiser me'etzem shorsham. that the Sitra Achra can also get more than their essential shorish, b'kav amida, and how much was measured out initially. Kamoshi is bar, like will be explained. How does that happen? Kemoy al yedei rasha gamor shaloi mitayra. When a wicked person studies Torah. So what's happening? Really scary. Because he's learning Torah, he's pumping energy from a very high place, because Torah is a channel. But because he's wicked, he's passing that, and then he goes and he sins after he studies Torah. He passes all that intense energy over into the Klippa. So he serves as a conduit for incredible increased flow of holiness into the other side. And that's why it says, Ula Rasha Omer Elokim, to the wicked God says, Malach l'saper chukai. Why are you relating my statutes? Why are you studying? Shut the book. Stop the download. You're pulling. But you're leaking. You're being hacked. Don't deposit into your account more and more and more when the hackers are pulling it right out the other side. Shamoisev yanika lechitzainim. The person is adding a yanika, adding extra energy to the chitzonim, to the external forces. That's even when a Russia, a wicked person, but he's a Jew, he's learning Torah, he's doing a good thing. But because he hasn't done tshuva and he hasn't clogged his leakages, that energy, he's going to pass it on. And for sure, when he does a sin, when sins that Jews do in every generation, meaning when a sinner does a mitzvah, he's also passing on energy, and when he's doing a sin, he's giving big time. Now the Rebbe says a very frightening thing. The greater the stature of this Jew, the bigger the tzaddik the person is, which means the high, not always a tzaddik, the more potential this neshama has, the greater the soul, the more access they have, the greater the destruction, the greater the calamity that comes out when they pass energy to the other side, because they're plugged into a much greater channel. Lesser neshamas, they're plugged into smaller channels. Bigger tzaddikim, greater souls, they're plugged into the main gas pipe. V'chol hagadol yoiser, the higher one is yoiser mamshech taisis yanikol esitra achron, channels more energy to the klip. Mipnei shekedushasa yoiser, because he's holier. Ki yadu, as it is now. That's why the Gemara says that those that are righteous, meaning those that are Talmidei Chacham, the more person learns Torah, the bigger his Yetzer Hara is. Isn't that crazy? On the one hand, we say that by you learning Torah, what happens? You break the Yetzer Hara. But on the other hand, it says that the Satan tries to get a scholar to do a sin much more than he tries to get a person who's not a scholar. The scholars got bigger Yetzer Haras than other people. And the reason is because he knows he's got a bigger cut. If he, scores once, the other guy has to get him to do 60 sins in order to get what he gets, what he scores, bingo, and this guy's one Avera, bang. It's like, when you go to these games and you're shooting with the guns, like, you have the water things, I don't know, they have these games. And you have you shoot this guy, that guy, this guy's 10 points, 5 points, then you have the guy on the top, he's 300 points. You give one zetz on him, it might be a little harder to get, but you get him, bang, you knock 300 points in one shot, or 5,000, bang. I don't know, Disneyland, they had that. This one pops up, that one, you're shooting. And so the higher the higher is the prey. So the Sitra Achra tries to get the high neshamas to sin. That's why the Baal Shem Tov said that the tzaddikim do much greater damage to the world with their one small negative thought than other people do in their biggest sins. This guy can do the biggest sins, like when you say, oh, this guy, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't come close to the big tzaddik who has one little thought that's a little off, and what kind of horrible damage this. And that's why these tzaddikim were so sensitive to constantly be doing tshuva, because they realized that. It's a humbling thought. Velulezeh. Now he says, the Rebbe is saying, and that's the reason why this exile just continues and continues and continues. Because there's all this klipa is gotten all that strength. Velulezeh, if not for all this sinning, we would have a long time ended all the ends of all the cases of Moshiach. Oh, but he's not going to leave you in such a negative place. He's going to give us some words of comfort. As bad as it is, taka, the sins and the stuff. But v'chein behepach, the opposite. B'tshuva ma'asim tovim sheYisroel oisim. How about all the good that the Jewish people do? The tshuva that we do, and the good deeds that the Jewish people do, b'chol dor, in every generation, moisifim koyach b'sitra de kedusha. They add strength in the side of holiness. Harbi yoisem mikafi amida rishoyna. Much more, they intensify the powers of kedusha, much more than what holiness has on its own. Kamoi b'yechudi ilah the kol mitzvahs. Every mitzvah you make a yichud. That's what we say before a mitzvah l'shem yichud. The unifications that happen when we do a mitzvah, kiyadua, brings in an abundance of power into holiness. Okay, but you know what? In the end, we're going to extract every bit from them. So even if they think they score and they get energy, they're going to vomit. That's what it says. Not only are they going to stop receiving, but even whatever they've taken, they're going to end up, the pasuk says, Chel bala, wealth he swallowed, vayaki enu, and he vomited it. That's referring to all the klipa. That even when they get people to sin, and they get all this extra energy, they think it's to their benefit, but it's to their disadvantage. And the reason is, see, they have a minuscule amount of godly life that Hashem has given them, that's independent from our sins, which they're not stealing. There's a certain amount that God has given them. These are sparks of holiness that are stuck in them. That's theirs. We can't take it out. It's theirs. But because these guys have such a chazarisha appetite, and they're not happy with what they have, they want more. So they go and they bring about, through the process of sin, the enticement. And as a result of that, they amass a fortune. They swallow it. It gives them power. But when in the end we do tshuva, we extract what we gave them. But here's the interesting thing. Once we extract what we gave them, what they had before that we didn't have access to, the little bit that they had without us, that we don't have access to, latches itself on to the energy that is now being extracted. And then we extract, everything comes out. Even that which they had before unrelated to us. So comes out that their whole swallowing of this extra energy, their whole hacking and stealing ends up to their disadvantage. Because they end up, not only don't they have permanently, don't they stick with what they've stolen, they end up paying a fine, giving even whatever, and then they disappear completely. Because they have nothing to live on. And they're completely obliterated. So this is God's trick. Even the sin is part of the purification. Realize, even the mistakes the Jewish people we make, even the sins, which end up giving them temporarily a lot of power, in the end, we will all do tshuva. And everything goes back. It goes back plus whatever they had from before. And that's what he explains now. When is that going to happen? Moshiach. In the days of Moshiach, we're going to have the completion of all the birurim, of all the fixing. The reish peches nitzutzim of the 288 sparks shanaflu b'klipas noga that has fallen in the klipa. Remember, the 288 is the number of the original sparks, and later that each spark gets splintered into billions. But once we take it out, what happens? So then, the added energy that they received, we take back what we gave them. It says, I will take out as boloi, that which he has swallowed me piv from his mouth. It says another pasuk, wealth, he has swallowed, and then he has to vomit it. And the like. Like it says in the pasuk, there is a period of time where the man rules over man. Who is the man that's ruling over man? The unholy man rules over the holy man. That's the time of exile. The evil rules over the good. But the pasuk says, the verse says, L'ralo, it's to its own disadvantage. He will ultimately lose. Ki gecholim ata, the end of the verse, I forgot what it is, but ki gecholim, because coals you are. For whom and this is also what it says. It describes what's going to happen after the war of Armageddon, of Gog and Magog. So it says in a pasuk, I think in Isaiah and Yeshaya, it's in Zechariah. It's a pasuk in Zechariah. Over there it says in Zechariah. I love saying that name, so I'm going to say it. It says, B'mitzulois hasus. Let me tell you the whole verse. I looked this up today. It was really cool. Hey. I'm a little tired, but just a little. That's okay. Oh, right over here. Oh, what's? Nun and Aleph. The pasuk reads, "B'yoymahu, on that day, yeh al mitzulois hasus." On that day, it will be on the bells of the horse, written, Kodesh Lashem, holy to God. V'hoya hasirois bebeis Hashem. So the pots that are going to be in the house of God, kimizrakim, will be like the blood sprinklers, lifnei hamizbeach, that are in front of the altar. What in the world? Let me tell you first the second half. There's going to be such wealth those days that the pots that are going to be used to cook the foods are going to be made out of gold, the same like the mizrakais, the sprinklers of the blood they used to catch in gold vessels. But there's going to be such wealth that there's going to be such big donations to the Holy Temple that everything is going to be made out of gold. Even pots that are used to cooking meat, they're going to be using gold pots. That's what it says. How is the wealth going to come? It says, right after the war of Gog and Magog, it says that there's going to be on Mitzulois Hasus. Kodesh Lashem is going to be holy for God. So what does it mean? What does it mean on the Mitzulois Hasus will be Kodesh Lashem? So the Gemara gives three interpretations of what that means. One interpretation is, I'm going to first tell the second one because the second one is the easiest, regarding, is that the horses, they used to decorate them with bells. And the reason is because you want to draw attention to the beautiful horse. So if you have like a really beautiful horse, and the horse walks and it dingles its bells or whatever, so it draws the attention to. When Moshiach, it says, so at this point, because there will be after all the wars and conflict will be over, people will take the bells from the horses and bring it to God. Kodesh Lashem, they'll give it to the Beis Hamikdash. So it's as if it was written on the bells, holy to God. Why? Because instead of beautifying their horses, they will want to beautify God. They will take pride in God's beauty, in the temple's beauty, not in the horses. That's one pirush. Another pirush is as follows. Mitzulai Sasus, the Gemara says, means, Mitzula doesn't mean bell, but Mitzulai means shade, Maloshin Tseil. Tseil means shade. So Rashi explains, means like this. Whenever there is shade, a shadow of yourself, or anything, a shadow of a dog, let's say, because it's like a creature that you can see the shadow of, right? So, anytime during the day, the shadow is off to the side, standing in the sun. So the animal is blocking the sun, so the shadow is off to the side. If it's in the morning, it's going to be on the west side because the sun is coming from the east. If it's in the afternoon, the sun is coming that way, the shadow will be on the east or whatever. There's one time of the day that the shadow is right in the bottom. That's the part that's shady. When the sun is in the middle of the sky. Mitzuloi Sasus means the shadow coming from the horse, when it's going to be underneath the horse. That's at midday. What a shadow now saying. So it's saying like this. From dawn until midday, from the moment the sun rises, not dawn, let's say from the moment it becomes day, from the moment it becomes day and there's already some level of shadow, until midday when the shadow goes beneath the horse, the entire area around Jerusalem or around Eretz Yisrael, where the horse can run from the morning until midday, that whole area will be annexed to the land of Israel. So Eretz Yisrael will become larger. By how much space? By as much as a horse. Now, if a horse is running, how much can it run in a half a day? A nice couple of miles. I would say a horse in a half a day can probably go like 30 miles, no? Nicely. It takes the freeway, yeah. So about, I would say, 30 miles in every direction, maybe 40, maybe 50 miles. In every direction, around Eretz Yisrael, and any direction will become included. That's the second pirush. A third pirush reads the same way, that it means, Mitzulai Sasus means the shadow under the horse. But it means also from the morning until midday. But what the pasuk is saying is, not that will make Israel greater, but that everything that the Jewish people will collect from the spoils of all the dead that came about through the war of Armageddon, there'd be all the corpses there. So the people will go out to loot. So the first half of the day, whatever they're looting is going to go to the temple. Everything they will loot after that, they'll keep to themselves. Similar to what we're learning now in the Chumash, that when they went out in the war against Midian, part of it had to give a tax. So they're going to now, whatever is going to be looted on that. So it seems like from all these three Perushim, whether it means an expansion of land that becomes Eretz Yisrael, as far as the horse can ride, whether it means that whatever during that duration of time, all the loot they take from the Gentiles are going to go to the Beis HaMikdash, whether it means that people are going to be so inspired that they're going to take their golden bells, which means, and they're going to decide instead of beautifying their horses, they're going to bring it to the Beis HaMikdash. In all cases, it means something that wasn't holy first is now going to become. The Kedusha is going to get a tremendous extra. So, Alpi Pnimius in Yanim, what does this mean? It means that the wealth that the Klippa swallowed during all the exile, when we're going to loot it back, when Moshiach will come, it's going to come back out, all of that, and that's to do with the horse. That's the concept over here, that he's bringing it from this pasuk. Everything that umeitzal, and then gets the shade underneath it, mina klipas noga, from the klipa, because in order to take out the energy from klipa, Hashem sends out powerful, holy horses to extract. Who are those holy horses and what they are, I'm not exactly sure. But there is powers of Kedusha called Sus, and that's the power that takes out the stated elsewhere. V'hu, and that is, so once we get everything back from them, v'hu, lefi she'yia oz aliyas ha'malchus to Kedusha. Then what happens to Malchus of holiness with all those sparks that's now been elevated, is now going to be elevated, Begimel Rishaynos, is now going to be elevated into the three Keser, Chachma, Bina, de Kedusha. Into the Keser, Chachma, Bina of Kedusha, Kamoisha Kosev, like it says by Moshiach. And where do we see that Malchus is going to be elevated? It's going to manifest in primarily in this, that the king of the Jewish people, who is the personification of Malchus, in that days this king is Moshiach. He is going to rise in terms of his capacity to channel and to receive divine wisdom. Hine Yaskil Avdi, my servant will become wise. The Gava Ma'oid, and he will be elevated very much. Moshiach. And he will be elevated how high? The word says Ma'od. Ma'od is the same letters as Adam, but in different letters. Adam is Chachma and down. Ma'od is beyond Chachma. Adam, a human being, starts. His first power is Chachma. Ma'od is the infinite dimension of the person that's higher than the limited human being. And that's Keser. Moshiach is going to be elevated in Keser, and in Keser into Pnimius HaKeser. Together with him is going to come all the Jewish neshamas that are all have Moshiach inside of them. Mitzad b'chinas Pnimius Ma'od, b'chinas Pnimius Atik Yoimin ki Yedua. The Yevurer Eitz Hadas Legamri. So the Eitz Hadas of good and bad, that's Noga, Klipas Noga, is going to be completely fixed. Kama Shekasa Bereya Mehemna, the Ilana, the Toivera, Yisaver Ma'alma, that the tree of good and bad, which is the Klipa, is going to be completely removed from the world. Because the good is going to be absorbed in holiness and the bad is just going to disintegrate. Kama Shekasa, like it says, Vesruach Atuma Avir, the spirit of impurity I'm going to remove. And therefore, the entire creation is going to be elevated to higher life. Because Malchus is the source of what? Of creation in general, and of earth, and of planet Earth, Olam Asiyah particularly. And therefore, what's going to happen? There won't be any more illness in the world, which comes from Klippa, because Klippa is gone. And therefore, if someone will die when he's 100 years old, it will be the most tragic thing. It will be like a very big tragedy like a little child, Chas v'shalom, passed away. Because 100 years, who heard of that? Most people will live 1,000, 2,000 years. In other words, life will go for a very long time. And truth is, we'll live, for Jewish people will be eternal life. We will live very long because we're going to be receiving our energy, Malchus, the world's going to be receiving from Keser. Keser is called Erech Anpin, the long life. Erech Yoimin, long days. The Nar, a youngster, B'mei Shana Yamus. If someone is going to die when they're 100 years old, it will be considered tragic. A very young person died. Yelepela, that's going to be a wonder. And also the earth itself is going to stop giving forth, when you plant it, weeds, and it's only going to give you the purest of the pure. Va'aretz tizbar begashmias, physically the earth is going to become pure. Mikol psoiles ra, because from all ra that's in it, from all negative things, and therefore there's going to be so much more production growing. It's unbelievable because there won't be anything that's not good coming from the earth. The reason why the physical earth now produces a mix is because spiritually Malchus is the world is Klippa is deriving is from Klippas Noga. Klippas Noga is a mix of good and bad. But once that's gone, v'chein bebitter the mitzvahs, and the same in the purification of mitzvahs. Lo yia bitter ben toiv v'ra begashmis. When we're doing mitzvahs, we're busy selecting from good and bad. That's today's mitzvahs. But then the mitzvahs don't have to serve that function anymore. Acha shelo yia ra klal, there won't be bad in the world anymore. Rak beruchnius, our mitzvahs will accomplish powerful spiritual lights without any needing in the mitzvah to be busy with a selection. Kamay Adam Arishon began Eden. Now, mitzvahs are going to be similar to Adam Arishon in Gan Eden. Koydem achet the Eitz Hadas, before the sin of the Eitz Hadas, so before he got himself entangled with the Klippa. T'chsiv la'avda l'shamra, to work the garden and to guard the garden, but only in a very spiritual way. Ki yadua. V'zeu sha'anu oimrim achar she'yegale kvoid malchusoi. That's why we say after Hashem will reveal, and when we complete, in the days of Moshiach, after we complete all these birurim, after the glory of God's kingship will be revealed, Shu Malchus the Ein Sof, which is the Malchus of the Ein Sof, Sheyair b'Moshiach, which will shine in Moshiach. In Moshiach, the infinite, the Malchus of Ein Sof will shine in him, because we said before, V'gava ma'od, he will be elevated very, very high. So what do we say then? Because already that's going to be a complete birur, there won't be bad in the world anymore. So we won't have to use the precious mitzvahs as a broomstick to clean good from bad. Today it's the biggest misuse of mitzvahs. It's like using a gold brush or something that's to clean out a toilet. No choice. The Eibishter gave them. That's not what the mitzvahs really are. It's all about deeply divine, godly lights. The fact that we're using mitzvahs to weed out the bad stuff is a grossly misuse of the mitzvah that we have no choice, that we have to do it now. That's why we say only after Mashiach comes, it says, V'sham nasa lefanecha. And then we will do before you, kemitzvahs ritzonecha, like the mitzvahs that you want. That means that we're doing the mitzvahs today, but they're not like you like them, like you want them. Because this was not what you intended to Adam Arishon before. The mitzvahs were never intended to be a purifier of garbage. The mitzvahs were intended for something so much higher. V'dailamev. V'zehu, and this will explain when we say, Ad Yaver Amcha Hashem. So in this idea that after we finish all the purifications, after we are done with all the purifications, Malchus then will rise. And it will arise all the way to receive from the Malchus of Ein Sof, which is Keser, and Pnimius of Keser. And from there, right, that's the meaning of when we were stood by the Yam Suf, we were already speaking of the ultimate destiny of the Jewish people. We say it says over there in the verse, it says, cast upon the nations a fear and a dread, let them be silent like stone. Ad Yavor Amcha Hashem, until your people God will cross. Ad Yavor, until they will cross. Amzu, this people Kanisa that you have acquired. So it mentions 2 times crossing. Now hold it, we crossed already then in the Yam Suf. What does it mean, another crossing? It implies that there's going to be a crossing in the future as well. Not just one crossing, but 2 crossings. So even though you could technically say it's referring to the crossing of the Jordan, the Yarden through Joshua, but according to Chassidus, it's not referring to that crossing. It's referring to the crossing that we will cross over by the coming of Moshiach. And we will cross over twice. The first crossing is going to be the crossing of Nachal Mitzrayim, the river of Egypt, or Yam Mitzrayim. And the second crossing is going to be the crossing of the Euphrates. Not in the physical sense, but in the spiritual sense. When are these 2 crossings going to happen? One when Moshiach comes, and the other one in 220 years when we enter into the 7th millennium. We make a second cross. We will cross a second time. The crossing means we will cross a certain barrier that up till now was uncrossable for humanity. And even for the greatest tzaddikim and even the souls in heaven have never crossed that barrier in terms of divine illumination and godly revelation. But there will be 2 crossings. The crossing number 1 will enable, which will happen in the days of Moshiach, will it lift us up into the world of Bina, Chachma, and Keser, to that great illumination of the secrets of the Torah that Moshiach will reveal. As we spoke about earlier, that incredible Keser, which will bring about the purification of the 3 other nations. As we spoke earlier, this great light. And then another crossing, we will cross even past Keser, Chachma, and Bina. We will cross all the way into Atzmos himself, which means the Eber, God's very, very self, higher than any expression even of Keser, Chachma, and Bina. And that's the ultimate revelation, the ultimate experience in Yom Shekulo Shabbos. And that's the twice crossing. Ad Yavar Amcha Hashem is the first, he's going to explain now. Ad Yavar Amzu Kanisa is the next. V'zeu Ad Yavar Amcha Hashem, Ad Yavar Amcha Stam. The first one, it says Amcha Hashem. We will cross Yud Kei Vav Kei. Simply it means Amcha Hashem, your nation Hashem. But here he's learning it's Amcha, your nation will cross. What will they cross? They'll cross the Yud Kei Vav Kei to the other side of the Yud Kei Vav Kei. And the second time it says Ad Yavar, till they will cross. It doesn't say to where. It says Ad Yavar, Amcha Hashem, Ad Yavar, till they will cross. Because the next level can't be defined by anything. Amzu Kanisa, this nation. The Maram is, this is hinting to Lebei Zavares, to the 2 crossing She'iyah La'asid Lavai. There's going to be when Mashiach comes. Echad b'yamoisa Mashiach. The first one is going to be in the days of Mashiach b'nahar Mitzrayim, when we will cross the river of Egypt. K'mashakasa b'Yeshaya Yud Aleph, as it says in Yeshaya and Isaiah. V'hechrev Hashem es l'shoin yam Mitzrayim. The Eibishter is going to dry up the tongue of the sea of Egypt. V'heinif yoda yalanor, and he's going to lift his hand up over the river. V'hikol is ayin echolim, and he's going to beat it. He's going to split it into 7 passageways. V'hoisam mesila, and it will be a pathway for the Jewish people. That's the first path. That's the first splitting. V'avara habeis, and the second splitting, bizman olam haba. That will take place in the time of the world to come. Sheyavru, the Jewish people will cross Benahar Paras, in the Euphrates River. Which river is that? Euphrates. Why is that so special? Shehu Nahar Sheyoytze Me'eden Mamish. That's really the river that goes out of Eden. As the pasuk says, V'Nahar Yoytze Me'eden. So then the pasuk describes the initial river. It says the river goes out of Eden, and then it forks into Eden, and then Lahashkes es Hagan, to water the Gan Eden. And from there it forks into 4 rivers. One of them is the Euphrates. So the sages, however, prove that really the other three rivers, the Nile, the Tigris, and what's the other one? There's the Nile, the Tigris, and what's the fourth? The Chidekal, I forgot what it's called, how they refer to it. These three rivers are really, they're like new rivers. They've become, like, they feeding off this river, but the Euphrates, that's the continuation of the main river. It's not really a new river. That's the river that goes out of Eden. So when we will cross the Nahar Parasa, what it really means is crossing the river that goes out of Eden. That means we pass the Gan Eden experience because we go into Eden itself. The sages say that everything the prophets forecasted, everything the prophets saw and spoke of, in all the prophecies, was only of Gan Eden. They envisioned the Gan. But the Eden itself, Eden is not the Gan. Eden is infinitely higher than the Gan. But in Olam Haba, which is post-Moshiach era, we will cross into Eden itself. And the Gemara says, in Masechtas Bechores, that the river Paras, that's the original river. And the idea is, what does this mean? Now, so this is like it's written, we said on another pasuk. It says, this idea that we're going to have two incredible revelations, two consecutive ones, one higher than the other. Like the days that you went out of Egypt, it says, just like the days you went out of Egypt, I will show you wonders. So it doesn't say I will show you wonder, I will show you wonders, plural. These are the two wonders that God will reveal. Wonder number one is once we do the first crossing. So our act of crossing is so that we can receive the first wonder. Our second crossing is so that it can reveal to us the second wonder. Echad, one of them is Ad Yavar B'Yamoisa Moshiach. The first one is when we cross over in the days of Moshiach. Shalzeh Amar, and this is, by the way, already when God met Moshe Rabbeinu, right, in Mitzrayim. What did Hashem tell Moshe when Moshe asked him, what's your name? Hashem said, Eke, we're not saying that. Eke Asher Eke. Which really means I will be who I will be. So the word Eke is really in the future. I will be. So it's not something that's happening currently in Egypt. I will in the future. Asher Eke means I will be again. So the first moment that Moshe had with God, Hashem is already speaking about these two revelations. The revelation of Moshiach, and so you think about what was on God's mind. Back then already, Hashem, it's only Moshiach. It's like I'm sorry to say this, but we're so stupid. You're trying to get people to talk about Moshiach. You're trying to get excited about it. This is what God's thinking about. That's it. That's the only that the Eibishter is one-track minded. Moshiach. That's all that's on God's mind. From the very beginning, He wants to reveal to us those revelations. Everything is only a preparation for that. Shalzeh Amar Eke, in which Chazal say, Ano Zamin, the Zohar says, Ano Zamin le'izgala, I will reveal myself. I think that's a Zohar, or it's a Targum Yonason, or it's a Zohar, probably a Zohar. No, yeah, it's a Zohar. Asher Eke, then it says a second time, B'havara, when we will cross over the second time, B'nahar Paras. In the Shalzen Omar. Now the first splitting of the sea, hold it. Now the first splitting we had in Yeshaya, when it speaks about Moshiach, He will lift His staff over the Lishon Yam Mitzrayim, and He will split it into seven streams, fine, or seven passages. Where do we have the second crossing? Where does it say that? So that's hinted to in another verse. It says in a pasuk as follows. Hafach Yom, it's a pasuk in Tehillim. Hafach yam layabasha. That's in the past. God turned the sea into dry land. That happened in Egypt. Hafach, in the past, he switched the sea to dry land. B'nahar yavru, in the river they will cross beregel with their feet. That's future. And this is the last crossing. How do we know? Look at the next words. David HaMelech says, Sham nismacha boy. There we will rejoice in him. In him, that's the secret. It's not in any of his revelations, not in his wisdom, not in his information and knowledge. The wisdom, the knowledge of God on the deepest level, Moshiach will bring that to us. But that's still not him. That's his knowledge. Where are we going to nismacha, rejoice in him himself? That's when B'nahar Yavru, we will have to cross that second river, which is the Euphrates River at the later time. Shanis b'choy be'mamish v'hua Eden, and this is the Eden itself, the olam above, the future world, the ayin le'ra'asa, that no eye has ever seen. V'zehu asher eka, that which I will. V'zehu asher eka, that I will be. Ano zamin le'izkala, I will a future reveal myself, ba'olam abba, in the world to come, shall ze amar, and this it says, v'amech kulam tzadikim, your whole nation, everybody's righteous for this. And la'olam yirshu aretz, they will forever inherit the land. Which land are we talking about? The level of Eretz Yisroel, not at the time of Moshiach, at the time when the 7th millennia comes in. Then that's called the ultimate Eretz. That's when you're going to see Malchus, you're going to see the world, you're going to see Eretz in its highest state. Eretz HaChayim, the land of life. Bibchinas Chai Oilam, then it's going to be receiving eternal life. Shehu be'elef hazayin, which is going to happen in the 7th millennium. Sha'al ze Omar, and on that stage it says, Shasida Eretz Yisrael shetispashet b'chol ha'olam kulo, that Eretz Yisrael is going to expand in the entire world. See, in the days of Moshiach, it's going to include the 3 nations, which represent Keser, Chachma, Bina, but not the whole world. These 3 nations. Or as we said earlier, as far as the horse can run, from morning to midday, that will be annexed to Eretz Yisrael. That's in the days of Mashiach, representing the added powers of holiness that will reveal themselves from God's intellect. But now we're talking about something deeper than that. The revelation of the Eibishter himself, not his intellect. When that's revealed, Eretz Yisrael will cover the entire earth. Kuloi umakol makom, nevertheless, maskirin Yetzias Mitzrayim. You wonder, after such revelations, when Mashiach comes, we'll forget about the going out of Egypt. We'll still mention it. V'gam kriyas Yamsuf, and we'll even mention kriyas Yamsuf, the olam haba, because that was the key, that was the beginning, that was the shoresh. Even though whatever happened after that can't compare to what's going to happen post Mashiach. V'zeu niflaos, and these are it says, Irenu, I will show him niflaos, wonders, double wonders. Stima the kol stimin, what is hidden from what is hidden. There's hidden and there's hidden of the hidden. These are these 2 levels. Atzmoi b'mochusei v'atzmusei yizbarach. And Hashem's very, very substance and essence. Mamish v'dailam if. For Tuesday night, you guys are still, we can fight again. We can move a little further. Okay. Biru, Indian, and the explanation of the matter, Yuvan al Piyan now. Now, the explanation of the difference, hold on a second, of the difference between these 2 revelations. What's the first revelation and what's the second revelation? He's going to explain now. Yes. What? Yes. Oh, you're too cold? Take a tea, because I'm getting hot. Yeah, put on your hood, take a tea. Because at this end, I'm getting all worked up. If you're going to make it, it's going to get too stifled. Take another tea. Yeah. Go get a tea.
fitting perfect, all the parts. It's great.
This is the information that the whole world should be learning these days.
I agree.
Everybody needs to be learning this.
And this is from
The Mittler Rebbe said this 200 years ago. And in the last 200 years, who read this? There's a reason.
But look at the coincidence of what's going on right.
Now it's, yeah.
It's so obvious. Like if you can't connect what's going on.
Abir Indian and the explanation of the matter, Yuvan al Pianal, will be understood. Shebiyamoisa Moshiach Yeshleimus Abirudim Dereish Peiches. When Moshiach will come, there will be the completion of the Birurim. It will be the completion of all the work we've been doing for thousands of years, of all the Birurim, of all these sparks, the Reish Peches of the 288. Shenoflu b'shviris hakelim, that has fallen down during the shattering of the vessels. V'zayim midos tetoyu, from the 7 midos of the world of chaos that we spoke about earlier. Sheyalu l'sharshom, which they're going to be elevated to their source, b'pchenas samach gimel. They're going to be elevated up to their source in Samach Gimel Kenis Kaliel, which is, right? Zehu Pchinas Keser HaPrati. What he's saying is that Yemosa Mashiach is the revelation of Keser, but it's the Keser of this current system. That's why it's Keser Chachma Bina of the system of Tikkun and the like, of Atzilus and. But then there is the Keser Chachma Bina, or the Keser, not the Keser, Hakloli, the Keser itself, not the Keser Chachma Bina of this system. It's almost like, we have the solar system, which is an entire system of stars and which is all within the galaxy, and then you have a much greater galaxy. So the Keser Chachma Bina of this particular solar system we're talking about, and then there is, so that's the next elevation in Be'elef Hazayin. So if Ezel B'chenas Keser HaPrati, this is specific Keser, the Gimel Rishaynis of the 3, the Atik Yoimin, the 3, whether it's the level of Atik Yomin, which is the innermost of Keser, the Erech Anpin, or the first 3 of Erech Anpin, which is actually lower. I don't know why he says it first. I would have thought he would say the Gimel Rishonis of Erech Anpin, and then even Atik Yomin, and then all the way up to the Gimel Rishonis, the Adam Kadmon. But he says it in the other order, so of course we'll read it the way the Mittler Rebbe said it. The Gimel Rishonis first of Atik Yomin, the Erech Anpin or Erech Anpin. Again, in each one of these, Atik Yomin, Erech Anpin, Adam Kadmon, each one of these levels all have 10 spheros in them. So in each of them there is the Keser Chachma Bina. So this will be a revelation of the Keser Chachma Bina of all these lofty levels of Atik Yomin, Erech Anpin until Adam Kadmon. Shu Avara Echad, this is the first crossing, the Ad Yaver Amcha Hashem, that the people, your people, God will cross. Where are we crossing? So let's understand something. The barrier that we need to cross is the big filter. God created a powerful filter that keeps the higher, deepest stuff from revealing itself. And there are 2 primary filters. The 2 hays in Hashem's name. Malchus is one filter, and Bina is the other filter. When we crossed the ocean, when we crossed the sea, when we went out of Egypt, we crossed the lower filter. That's why we crossed the lower hay. We crossed Malchus, the lower hay. And when we crossed that, we breached the barrier between Atzilus and, which is the world of emanation, and the world of Bria, Yetzir, and Asiyah, creation. And what does it mean we breached it? Before Matan Torah, we were cut off from living a godly life. We can live a righteous human life, but we can't live a godly life. We couldn't possibly synchronize our emotions with God's emotions because there was a great barrier, a great wall. Kriyas Yamsuf tore open that wall. And now, when a Jew, or you and a Jew, all of us, any single one of us, is able to live and be completely, not just synchronized, but a continuum of the divine being. Because, for instance, if you spend all your life using your hand for tzedakah and mitzvahs, then your hand is an expression of God's right hand. Your right hand. And your left hand is an expression of God's left hand. Your nose, your ears, your entire body function. That's what a tzaddik is. A tzaddik follows the Torah completely. So the supernal man above is translated from up there down into a physical human being. You're just a mini Eberster. I know it sounds strange. Because you're bottled completely to him. You're not you. You're doing his things, not your things. Your thoughts are not your thoughts, his thoughts. Atzilus, which is what's Atzilus? Atzilus is where God manifested his intellect and his emotions. But until Matan Torah, the divine human and the human we couldn't download. You couldn't download God's persona into our persona. We ripped open the hay, the lower hay, allowing for that communication to happen. That's why the Jews had to go through the sea, tear open the body of water before they received the Torah. Because as long as the sea is there, you can't download the Torah. They split open the sea. They tore it. Now you can synchronize. But let's understand something. Atzilus is only a world. It's a world of divinity, but it's still God as he's already defined by expressed expressions. Then there is beyond Atzilus, where the Ein Sof is. That barrier still stands. And that barrier, now here's the thing. Bina already, and especially Chachma, has access to the Ein Sof. Because in Chachma resides Keser. So Chachma has access. Bina is the great big barrier. So in order for the lights of the essential Ein Sof lights expressed in the Keser, I spoke earlier, the divine potential that hasn't yet actualized, hasn't yet revealed itself in a certain shape and form. It's all the thoughts that have not yet been, like I told you earlier, in your brain, you have, in your mind, you have the potential creativity that you haven't yet created. So it's still in that very, very secret, inner, hidden, core, essential place. That's what we're referring to about the Eberster. That needs to be revealed down here. We have to slice through the barrier of Bina, which is the river. And that's what he's saying over here. We cross over into the hay, the Bina, Shenikra Nar Stam, which is called a river. Sheyalu, from there we go up L'Bchinas Keser, because once you cross Bina, you're already going up into Keser. Shehu Masha Kasa b'Moshiach, and that's what we said by Moshiach, who's going to carry us there. The Gava Ma'oid, he is very high, Ma'od. The Yedua is known, the Ze'inyan B'chinas Pnimius Atik Yomin. Being very high means to enter into the Pnimius of Atik Yomin, which is really where the Eibishter himself is. And what does it? How does that manifest? What does it mean practically? If you can say practically on this, Shazau B'chinas Pnimius HaTorah. That's the inner dimension of the Torah. Berazin v'sodas HaTorah, in the secrets and the esoteric elements of the Torah. Shebeb'chinas chachmas tima da'atik yoimim ve'erech anpin, which is in the level of the concealed chachma. That means it's not yet, that's what I meant earlier, I said earlier, it's not ideas that have already been formulated. That's why it's called chachma stima. It's the power, it's chachma of the concealed chachma, where the chachma is not yet, hasn't produced an idea yet. It's still in the potential of atik yomin, of innermost of keser or erech anpin. Like it says, Yaskil Avdi, my servant Moshiach will become super intelligent. He will have God's brains. Sheyizgal la'az, it will be revealed then tam me mitzvahs, the reasons of the mitzvahs. And a reason over here doesn't mean so much like a logic. It means the divine pleasure that's in the mitzvah, the inner delight in this thing. The higher delight, the supernal delight that is in the supernal chachma, shenikra atika kadisha, which is called the ancient holy one. And then he says on that level, he says lahanchil ohava yesh. The reward of Moshiach is I will inherit ohave to those that I love. Yesh, I will give them something. So what's the something? I'll give you something, God says. What's the something? The something is the essence of Chachma and the essence of Bina from their quintessential core revealed. In other words, now we also have revelations from Chachma and Bina. That's Torah. But now, it's not the essence of the Chachma and the essence of the Bina, it's just the droppings. It's just like some concepts that emanated from Chachma and Bina that is revealed. Not the brain itself. Ideas from the mind, but not the brain itself. Here it's the essence of Chachma, the entire power of Chachma as it is one with God Himself, and Bina as it is one. It's like the Kochas HaNefesh when they're still embedded in the Nefesh. They haven't yet moved out. They're so powerful. And what does it have to do with the word Yesh? Something. Because the Pasuk says, Kenei Chachma, Kenei Bina. Acquire Chachma, acquire Bina. Kenei, Kuf Nun Hey, is 155. Put together 2 times 155, one for Chachma, one for Bina. 155 and 155 is 310. That's Yesh. That's what it means. The Eibishter says, Lahanchil, I will give Oyahavi to those that I love. Yesh, I'll give them a real substance. But that's Kenei Chachma, acquire the Chachma, not just sit back and you'll get a little Chachma. Acquire the essence of the Chachma and the essence of the Bina. And then the pasuk continues, V'oitzreiseyem amale, and their treasures I will fill. I will fill those treasure houses. Ikiyadu, as it is known, we'll soon see what that means. But Ikiyadu, as it is known, the base pamim kaneh, the 2 times the word kaneh, gematria yesh, is gematria 310. Shazeh inyan kenei chachma, kenei bina, the kaneh of chachma, kenei bina. Ukemoi zakein, we say an elderly person. Shekana chachma. Why is it zakein called? Or a wise man, he's called a zakein. Zakein means he acquired. He worked so hard to reveal. He actualized his mind. He hid the internal powers, the potential. It's like most people, whatever comes from their brain, creative it is. But these people burrowed into their what we might say potential mind and revealed it. From its source, as it is rooted in the ayin and the nothingness. It's not defined yet of keser dafka. Like it says, Chachma comes from ayin, that's keser. And where will it come? But here's the chiddush. It will not remain this Chachma and Bina in its abstract, non-defined. It will make itself hasagable, which means graspable and understand how. It's impossible, but that's what it is. Mehelem the seichel hamufla, from its concealed private state of being a wondrous seichel, v'oineg anelam, and a concealed pleasure, v'zeh nikra yesh, it's going to become yesh, it's going to become tangible. Ukemoi, watch this, I love this parentheses here. It says, Naharoisam kishemen oilech. Their rivers like oil, I will make lead. In other words, their rivers will be rivers of oil. What does that mean? River is Bina. River is Bina. Yeah, so the Bina, right? Because Bina is like thought. It doesn't stop for a moment. Just like a river is always flowing. Non-stop. Usually a river is filled with water. Water, the nature of water is that it goes from a high place to a low place. It's the nature of water. Water is chachma. It's called water. But not the essence of chachma. Water is the natural element of chachma to reveal itself. To make it very physical, I would say something like this. A human brain will naturally function and produce. It will produce 2% or 0.5% maybe of its potential. You work a little harder, you'll get 3%, 5%. And some people really dedicate their lives to the pursuit of knowledge. They'll squeeze out 30%, 40%. A guy like Albert Einstein, I don't know how much he pushed from his brain. Or big Gaonim who sat all day, learned. They were like pumping it. The stuff that comes out without much effort is called the water of the brain. Water goes down. The oil is when you're getting to the essence, when you squeeze that brain, when you squeeze that mind, so to speak, to squeeze out its essence. And that's what it says when Moshiach will come. Now, Bina, the supernal level of Bina, is filled with the water from Chachma, not with the oil of Chachma. But it says when Mashiach comes, Naharoisam, their Bina, their rivers, Keshemen, will be suddenly flooded with oil. And what does that mean? And he explains what that means. Shazau b'chenes Nahar de Bina. Yagia v'yeh, the rivers of Bina will be b'chenes Shemen. The oils, the Chachmi La, Nelam, the concealed oils of Chachma, will flow into the Bina, into the rivers. And that means, and we're receiving it from the river. So now we're receiving water in the river, we're receiving the oil. That means instead of learning regular Torah, we're learning Pnimius HaTorah, the deepest secrets. And here's the coolest thing. Zau Sha'amr Ramzu, this was hinted to what Chazal say. She'ein ben David ba, Ben David will not come, Achalo Yimtze Dag L'chayla. A strange thing the sages say. That Moshiach will not come until you can't find a fish for an ill person. The guy is sick, he needs a fish, but there's no fish left in the pond. There's no fish left in the river. So I saw today in the news that someone caught a 72-pound mahi. I looked at that fish, I said, "Oy, do I want that fish." Not only that, I want to catch that fish. He broke the record in Massachusetts, catching a 72 mahi. There's Baruch Hashem enough fish. If they're based on all the fish going to be, what do you mean they're not going to be able to find a fish for a chola? What it means is like this. When the rivers are filled with oil, not with water, there's no more fish. The fish swim in the water, not in the rivers. When you'll go to a shear, and you want to get a little water from the shear, like people sometimes show up over here and they want to get a little water. And instead they get a dosage of downloading of intense oil. Sometimes they're not ready for that. They don't know what to do with all this oil. They want you to teach them a little halacha here, there, nigla, this and that. And this, that. We're learning mitla Rebbe's maimer over here, a gush of oil. This is like, So Mashiach won't come until all the classes in the world will be teaching the mitla Rebbe's maimarim. You want to get a little water, a little fish that swims in the water. There's nothing there because the world is flooded with Pnimius HaTorah. You want to learn a little pshat, but there's too much secrets. The secrets are so intense. There's so much secret revealed. That's why we see, and today's Baruch Hashem, there's a lot of secret, not just over here at Maayon. I have to say that over here we probably teach more than we teach in most places. But there is a lot of Pnimius HaTorah being taught in the world today. The oils are beginning to flow. There won't be a fish. Because the rivers will be filled with oil. Maayon, and not water. Sharoim is, what does it indicate? Seichel. B'chinas mayim doiraisa. I'm sorry. Shekol b'chinas mayim doiraisa. All the waters of the Torah, b'chinas shemen HaKodesh, will be holy oil. What does that mean? Shazau Yud Gimel Nahara Afar Simona. These are the 13 rivers of perfumed oil. Dachya, of pure perfumed oil. Shuhu mebchinas shemen hatov. This is the good oils, betainog, the pleasure, the seichel hanelam, and the concealed wisdom. Mikol rayon, it's such deep things that are beyond, shebesodas haTorah, that are the secrets of the Torah. And who's going to be the teacher that's going to reveal all of this? Moshiach. Who shama b'Moshiach, and that's why it says about Moshiach, Pele Yoetz. He is a wondrous advisor. So it says a bunch of things about Moshiach. One of the things it says, he's a Pele Yoetz, a wondrous advisor. V'chacham charoshim, and a wise man in all skills of carpentry. Dafka. It's interesting. The first pasuk, Pele Yoetz, Taka says about Moshiach. The second pasuk, Chacham Charashim, is actually a pasuk, I checked it up, is talking about that when the exile came, they emptied out of Jerusalem all the wise men, including all the craftsmen. Chacham Charashim, all craftsmen. Somehow the Mittler Rebbe, and maybe there must be a chazal on that Chacham Charashim is referring to Moshiach, that he's also called Chacham Charashim. Anyways, Dafka, what does that mean? The main thing is, Shakol Raz Le'anislei. There isn't a secret that he doesn't know. Every secret is revealed to him. It says by him, and he will be gifted with the power of scent, of smell. The Moirich, he will give a sniff, V'da'in, and he will judge. He will, through the power of smell. V'loy lamara einav, and not through his eyes, ki yadua. That means he will know all the secrets. Nothing will be hidden from him. V'zau, and that's also the second half of the previous pasuk where it says, Le'hanchel, I will give a havi to those who love me, yesh. The second half of the pasuk says, V'oitzrei seyem, and their treasure houses, their treasures, or their, what is it, not treasure? Oitzer is a, their storages, Amalei I will fill. What does it mean? Oitzer is chayim el yoinim. Before we spoke about Bina, is the river. Chachma is called the Otsar, where there is chayim el yonim, where there's the supernal life. Because Chachma Tichya, Chachma is life. So in Chachma is now there's two levels of Chachma. There is the Chachma of creation called Chachma of Malchus, Chachma Tata, the lower Chachma, and there is Chachma Yalah, which is the Chachma of Torah. Oitzaseyim Amale means God says, I will fill both treasures of Chachma. In other words, there will be a powerful influx in Bina, and there will be a powerful influx in Chachma. Because the idea is that the core of Chachma and Bina will be revealed. Shen Artzei Sachayim, these are the two. Oitzar is related to the word Eretz. Kamay Gan Eden Elyon, the higher Gan Eden, where the higher Chachma resides. The Gan Eden Atachten, and the lower Gan Eden, where the lower Chachma resides. It says in regards to the pasuk, the Torah is talking about how it was Hashem's delight. It says Misachekes Lefanav, it was delighting before him, or it was B'Tevel Artso, in Tevel his land. So we know Tevel is one of the meanings, one of the names of the earth, of planet Earth, is called Tevel. We say, L'David Mizmor, L'Hashem Ha'aretz Umlo, Tevel v'Yoshvei Ba. Tevel, the earth and everything, all the inhabitants. Tevel's. Tevel Arzo, however, is referring to the land in its perfect state when Moshiach will come. Why? Eretz is Eretz HaChayim, the land, right? Tevel, he says, is 432. 432 is 2 times 216. 216 and 216. 216 is the gematria of Gevura. It's 216. It means the intensification of life, double. The intensification of the flow in Chachma Allah, in the higher Chachma and in the lower Chachma. Powerful revelation of wisdom. Gematria Tevel, Shazeh Gevuri Allah, the Gevura Tata, the higher Gevura and the lower Gevura. Shaharei, what's the idea of it being so intense? Sharei Omar, it says when Mashiach will come, Kulam Yadu Oisi, everybody will know God. That means that the knowledge will be so intensely pumping that it will flood the world. It will go everywhere. Umala Haaretz Deyas Hashem, and the earth will be filled with knowledge of God. Mamish, the earth. Af be'eretz hatachtoin, even the lower earth. K'moy began Eden. The lower earth will be like Gan Eden. I think that's what it means. The Aretz Ta'asiyah, the earth of the world of Asiyah. No, maybe Gan Eden is called the earth of the world of Asiyah, and then Gan Eden and Hatachton means the earth of the physical earth. That's possible. But Al Kapanim, earth itself will be so flooded, and that's because the intensification of all this knowledge. Because we will cross the barrier of Bina. Shuhei Rishayna, which is the first Hey, the Shem Avaya. Sheyavoyu, which gives us access. Sheyavoyu, which allows us to come from Bina and Chachma into Keser. B'pchinas Ayin, the Keser Sheba Chachma Bina. Into the Ayin of Keser, of the Chachma and Bina that's in the Keser. Levad. Shalzeh Omar, and that's on this it says, Anozamin li'izkalo, I will reveal myself. This has never been revealed yet. Shebederech klal, because in general, Einoi, what does this mean? No, Shebederech klal, which in general, Einoi elo gilui oirein soif, baruch hu shebekeser elyon. In general, what this means is the revelation of the oirein sof that's in Keser Elyon. That's the lights that we're talking about. The oirein sof that's in Keser is going to be revealed. Shehu al yedei, that's going to happen through al yedei. Now, I couldn't make heads and tails of the next line. So then I figured out from the bottom, there's a girsa that's a little different. There's another that he takes out the word shame. Because this is not happening al yedei shame ma. Ma is not doing this. This is already the revelations from Samach Gimel. What is he now suddenly saying al yedei shame ma through the name ma? That's what I had a problem. But then I figured out on the bottom, this is cool, that it could be a mistake over here from a different version. And you read it, first of all, you take out the word shame, and it's just shehu al yedei, and you take out the 2 dots in the 2 apostrophes in the word ma, and you read it just shehu al yedei mashenase machmes Allah shleimus abirurim. That which happened, ma is not the name ma, the name of 45. It's ma shenase. All of this is produced by ma shenase, what was done, machmas halah shleimas birurim. Because of the halah, because of the elevation of shleimas, of the perfection of the birurim, the reish peches. In other words, after we've elevated the 288 sparks and transformed darkness to light, it will bring about this darkness to reveal itself. Why? And how did we do these birurim? How did we transform the world, the darkness of the world? We did it through the lower chachma of Torah, Shebal Peh. And the b'tshuva shlema, and through all the work of Torah observance. And tshuva shalema, and through the perfect tshuva, which did what? Bezayin midos to, which infiltrated into the 7 midos of Tohu and transformed it. Until it converted the supernal darkness to light. Because as we said earlier, when we transform darkness below to light, it causes the darkness, the supernal darkness as well, to illuminate. Which means these deep core essential oil we said before, that oil only comes out when you squeeze it, that it has to come out, that great oil that needs to come out, that the rivers will be filled with oil, Gilui Pnimius HaTorah of Moshiach, that will only come as a result of the conversions of darkness to light down here. Dafka through this comes all the concealments of the secrets of the Torah, shenikri tamei mitzvahs, that is called the reasons of the mitzvahs, legiloi ba'hasaga, is going to come down into a revealed state in hasaga to grasp it, shenikra yesh, that's called yesh, which yesh, as we said before, shekoidel kenei chachma ubina, the kana, the 2 times 155 of chachma and bina, but the chachma and bina from their essence, bepnimius mekayram, in their innermost core, bebeis mazalois, the erech anpin. Chachma and bina, not as they are manifest, but chachma and bina as they are rooted in keser, which is called the 2 mazalois of erech anpin kiyudua, because we know that chachma is rooted in the 8th mazal, and bina is rooted in the 13th mazel, and from keser, and that's where they write. And here you're pulling it from its mazel, from its potential source for dailamev. When this is the meaning of ad yaver amcha Hashem, till your people will cross lashon lahaba for the future. Kamoy benar yavru beregel, like in the future, like in the river we will cross. V'hainu l'shoin yam Mitzrayim. This is the tongue of the sea of Egypt. Hanal. Sheyiyeh Mesila, he's going to say this is what Moshiach will do. This is when the Jewish people will come back from the exile. Sheyiyeh Mesila, this will be the path. Like kibbutz galias, to the gathering of exiles, Moshiach and Moshiach, v'yachniu. And once we will have these revelations, v'yachniu gam legumel umois. Then, when such secrets of Torah will be revealed, it will impact all the scientists of the world. And all these people, and they will all admit, what? It's happening already, you say. The gam.
You understand they have this thing called artificial intelligence. Nobody even knows what it is. And they're talking about how it's going to claim the whole
Intelligence.
of thought and control. They're trying to simulate Hashem with massive computing. But actually, it's what is being described here.
Yeah.
The oil.
The oil that's going to flood the world. Yeah. You can put it on in your car in the YouTube. Chaim. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to do another half a page here. And then we're going to subdue the 3 nations of Edom, Ammon, and Moav as well. Shehem Akeni, which are these nations. Kimavua b'Yeshaya Sham, as it says in Yeshaya. Yachtov Yavoizu, it says clearly in these psukim, together they will plunder es B'nai Kedem. Kedem is who? That's Esav, called B'nai Kedem, Kadmoini. Kedem, which is Edom Moav, Mishloach Yadam. B'nai Kedem, these are the nations that are rooted in Keser. These are these Edom, Moav, Mishloach Yadam, Ubnei Ammon, Mashmatam. It says clearly these 3 nations. That Edom and Moav they will send their hands into them. And Ubnei Ammon and the sons of Ammon, Mishmatam, will be there. Whoever thought that that's what it's talking about? The conquest of the sciences, of the scientists, of the intellectuals in the world. They too will be flooded with this godly knowledge, and the klipa will blow off immediately. Shazau hapech gimel rishonis. This is the conversion of the first three, the keser chachma bina, the klipas noiga, of the keser chachma bina of klipa. Gam b'bchinas pnimius. Not just like it was in the days of David and Melech. Remember, we learned in the beginning of today's class, the days of David, the days of Shlomo, they were subdued, but they were externally subdued, not pnimius. As it says then, v'naharu elav kol hagoyim, that all the nations will flock to Moshiach. Like we're seeing already now, that by the Rebbe's grave, every second day, the Rebbe's grave, by the oil, a stupid thing to say, but in any case, but by the oil, what do you see? Every day you're getting another one of these people who are saying, oh, today I went to the Rebbe, I came here, and like these famous, people, Goyim from the world, they're all beginning. This week there's an article in Newsweek all about the Rebbe's wisdom. It's It's unbelievable. It's beginning to get out there. And it says, I'm going to convert the nations, Safa Bruda, with a clear tongue, to serve him all with one shoulder. And it says in a pasuk, V'amdu zarim, and foreigners will get up, v'ro, and they'll tend the flocks of the Jewish people, so that the Jewish people can study Torah, so that we can give them that information. Amazing. They will volunteer. They will hold on to the corner of a garment of a Jew, begging him, let me help you out, so that you can study Torah and bring us this knowledge. They're going to be crazy about this knowledge. Boy, once that oil starts flowing, oh my. Those that are left over in Zion, Kadosh Yomer Lo, holy they will say to him. Because then there will be an illumination, Malchus the Ein Sof Baruch Hu, from the Malchus of Ein Sof, Big Gimel Rishonos the Keser Chachma Bina. From the Malchus of the Ein Sof will shine into the Keser Chachma Bina Sheba Moshiach, that's in Moshiach canal, and he will have such knowledge and such wisdom, teach the entire world. Now, K'moy Shahaya, and now the splitting of the sea is an introduction to this. Just like K'moy Shahaya Kriyas Yamsuf, just like before we received the Torah, which was the first dosage. In the Torah, what did we get? The external part of God's knowledge. So there too we had to split. Just like there was the splitting of the sea. And when the splitting of the sea happened, that provided that God can be revealed. Ba'amram, how did the Jews respond when Hashem split the sea? Zekeli, this is my God. They can point with their finger, this is the Ebershter. Va'amar, and it says, Ra'asa shivcha layam, that the maidservant on the sea saw so much. And that was all b'shvil matan Torah. It was for the sake of the giving of the Torah. And what Torah did we get then? Then we got the external part of Chacham and Bina to help us do what? To help us to lift the sparks. Levarer le'etzadas tovera. This is like the Ebershter's wisdom to help us rectify the klipa, the tree of knowledge, good and bad, Be'eretz Yisroel canal. But yet, since we were receiving this great download, we needed to first remove the barrier so we can have that. So just like it was then a preparation for the lower part of God's wisdom to help us do the repair, when it comes to the actual reward of the Pnimius, of course we're going to have a splitting, a tearing open. So to this very light itself will be revealed in the days of Moshiach. B'shvil Kabbalah's Pnimius Tami Torah Mitzvahs. In order for us to get the real juice, the innermost of the reasons of Torah Mitzvahs, and as a result of that, we will also do the last birur, and that's the birur on what? On the three nations. And this is what it says, Hafach Yam Li'abasha. Just like God converted the sea to dry land in the past by Mitzrayim, Benar, in the river, we will cross in the future. Just like it happened then, will also happen in the future. Like I wrote, the Mittler Rebbe says, in my Sefer Shara Emunah, the Mittler Rebbe wrote, these Maimarim he didn't write. These Maimarim I think are recordings but the ones in Sefer Shara Emunah is what Sefer the Mittler Rebbe wrote. And that's another Gavaldiga thing. Ad Yavar also means till we cross. We're crossing means we're crossing upward. But the light from above also has to cross down. That's why the word Yavar, this is great, is also the word Ibor. Ibor means pregnant. Because when a woman is pregnant, the fetus is growing inside of her. It's growing. It's becoming a full human being, but no one sees the fetus. You can basically tell that there's going to be a fetus because the mother looks different. She's having a baby, but you can't see the fetus. You have no idea. It's a boy. It's a girl. What color hair? What color eyes? You don't know the personality of this child. You know nothing. It's a mystery. But you know the baby's coming. And then what happens? There is the opening up, which is the Kriyas Yamsuf. The mother opens up. And by the way, the mother is the Hay. A woman is the Hay, is Malchus. Malchus or Bina. And it's Kriya, it's opening up. And the baby that was being produced the whole time reveals itself. So we're down here, and we're working through the garbage, and we're working through life, and we're toiling and separating good and bad. While we're doing that work, there's a baby there's godly revelations that are being developed up there. As we're doing the birurim down here, there's a baby being developed. Until the coming of Moshiach, that baby is concealed. The coming of Moshiach is the birth of the soul of Moshiach, with all that wisdom, and that divine mind is then born. Similar to Yetzias Mitzrayim, Kriyas Yamsuf is also called the birthing of the Jewish people, birthing of neshamas. And that's the same thing. Yavor is a word until the pregnancy is over, and the ibur, the fetus that was hidden the whole time, comes to manifestation. This is the ibur of the neshamas, be'ema ilah, the pnimiyas bina, in the supernal mother, in the innermost of bina. What does it mean, our neshamas? Our source of our neshamas up there that are being developed now with so much greater light to be revealed when Mashiach comes. Shehu mem stima, that's the closed mem, is the supernal mother. Usually there's two types of mems. There's an open mem and there's a closed mem. Now a closed mem is always in the end of a word, and an open mem is in the middle of the word. There's one time in the Torah, and I spoke about it, a whole shir about the closed mem opening and the open mem closing. When Shulam Lemmer was here on Shabbos, I gave that whole talk about the two mems switching. But there's one mem in the Torah which is a closed mem, and that mem that's in the middle of the word, and it's a closed mem. It's talking about Moshiach. It says Lamarbe HaMisra, that Moshiach is going to have increased government power, meaning Moshiach's governorship, his kingship is going to be increased, be very, very big. Lamarbe. Over there, that mem is closed. Because Moshiach, that powerful revelation, that powerful kingship of Moshiach, that powerful light, is still closed. It's a secret. It's hidden. When Moshiach will come, it says Lamarba, the mem of Lamarba will split open. That's the birthing. And who does it give birth to? Moshiach's neshama. The Rebbe said once in a Fabrengen, in a Hadran, the Rebbe said the main inyan of the entire messianic era, there's so many things that are going to happen, that this, that, something the Shashlishi, and all these inyanim. But the Rebbe said the main thing about the time of Moshiach is the revelation of Moshiach himself. Moshiach himself, because Moshiach is that, he embodies that highest, godliest mind from the deepest place, and therefore his mind is going to be endless with wisdom of teaching Pnimiyas HaTorah. I today have give birth to you. Ani hayoim yaladetucha. I have given birth to you today. That's the day when Moshiach comes. But there's a deeper secret over here. Look at the word ani. Ani stands for Yud, Aleph, and Nisan. That's the birthday. Ani hayoim yaladetucha. Today I gave birth to you. That's our secret that you can't tell anybody. Just like there was an ibur and a birth by the neshamas of Yidden by Yetzias Mitzrayim, the Kriyas Yamsuf, and Kriyas Yamsuf, the Emet Atah of the lower mother. In Malchus, that tore open. And what does it mean, the neshamas? It means it means that they themselves didn't have access to their own godliness of their neshamas. And that manifested and opened up in them. So then Moshiach will be revealed, and obviously the capacity of each and every one of us will suddenly grow exponentially. And this is all ki Yaakov. Now on these two periods, now he's going to say the period of Yetzias Mitzrayim until Moshiach, and then the next period of Moshiach and onward, the revelations, and this upgrade is hinted to in a pasuk we say in Yehi Chavoid every day. We say, Ki Yaakov bachar loi ka, Because Yaakov, God has chosen. Yisroel, Israel, the Jewish people, lizkulasai, to be his segula, to be his treasure, cherished treasure. So he's going to divide the pasuk into two parts. Yaakov bachaloka, the choice that God made in Yaakov, is the choice that God made in us by the giving of the Torah, empowering us with the Torah that we should do our work. Yisroel is gulaso, is the revelations that are going to happen to Israel, to the Jewish people, after the coming of Moshiach. And he's going to explain. Let's see how. The bechira zihor ishayna, this first choice, the first choice that happened by the giving of the Torah, see, by the first half of the pasuk, it mentions Hashem's name. Ki Yaakov bachar lo ka. That ka chose Yaakov. Who's ka? So we know ka is two letters of Hashem's name. But based on the idea that Yud is Chachma and Hey is Bina, and being it has half the name, it's Chachma and Bina chose Yaakov. Why? Because work needs to get done. What's the work? We need to repair the world. How are we going to repair the world? Through Chachma and Bina of the Torah. But that's the revealed Torah, the lower part of it, not the secrets. The revealed part of the Torah coming down as an instruction manual to repair the world. So that's the Chachma and the Bina. And who are they choosing to do the repair? They choose the Jew. Chachma and Bina chose the Jew to do the repair. Chose Yaakov. Why Yaakov? They didn't choose Avram, didn't choose Yitzchak. Why? Because Avram is too extreme to the right. Yitzchak is too extreme to the left. Yaakov is Teferes. Teferes is the perfect balance of yes and no, of kindness and severity. And the way we fix the world is in the middle path. We don't reject everything. We don't invite everything. Everything is in the middle. The Torah's path is in the middle, Teferes. Mercy, compassion. So that's what he says. The Bechir is Urashon Aras Yudke Shehen Chachmo Bina, which is Chachmo Bina, the Torah Shebeksav, the Torah Shebal Peh. Torah Shebeksav is Chachma, the written Torah. Torah Shebal Peh, the oral Torah, is Bina. Levarer, and we do a birur, Lezaya Midos Tetoyu, which help us do that birur in the world that we need to do canal. And who is going to do it? The Yaakov, Ubchenes Teferes. Yaakov is Teferes. Shukavam Tzoi, which is the middle ground, the Torah. Sheklula mechesed gevura, which includes chesed and gevura. Kamashakasab, it says by the Torah, miyaminoi eish, from his right hand, which is chesed, eish, which is gevura. So you see, right and left are mixed together. Eish das, a fiery law, lama was given to us. Kamashakasab, like it says, that the Torah is dafke shayach to Yaakov. V'yakum edus b'Yaakov. Hashem established edus, testimonials, which is the Torah, in Yaakov dafke. Sham. Ki you do as it is known. This is what the pasuk says. Ki Yaakov bachar loika, that Yaakov, the Eibishter Yudke chose. Shenivchar, that Yaakov has chosen. Who chose him? Mi beis akavim the Chachma and Bina. Chachma and Bina together chose Yaakov. Levarer bepchinas eitzadas, to do a birur in the eitzadas. This is not the Torah. This is the tohu of the world of tohu. L'reish peiches, to the 288 sparks. And this choice is also, when we say it's a choice, in addition to the spiritual meaning that Chachma and Bina chose, it means in the simple, a literal letter as well. Gamken shenifchar mikola umois, that the Jewish people were chosen from all the nations, lekabel Torah, to receive the Torah. Kamashakasav, as it says, v'zarach miseir, that Hashem shined forth from Seir, which means that the sages say he went to Esav. And Hashem also went to Yishmael. He went to the different nations, but then he gave it to the Jewish people. Hashem chose the Torah. And Hashem chose the Jewish people. Hashem chose us. Because the Jewish people have arisen in God's thoughts. Because the Jewish people have arisen in God's thoughts in the light of the very essence of Hashem himself. That that the Jewish people are a chelik, a piece of God. Yaakov is the rope of his inheritance, canal. And Keniskaliel, the power that we have to fix the whole world, what did we say? Is because we're rooted even higher than Esav. Remember, we spoke about it today also. It can now be the firstborn, Shenikra Rashis Oina, it's called the first of his strength. Stated in Lakuti Torah from the Alter Rebbe. Both Jew and the nations arose in God's thoughts. The Jewish nation have arisen in the pnimius, the innermost, the atzmos, and the very essence, the koidem atzimtzum of pre-tzimtzum, harishon, that's before the first tzimtzum, the umaysa oilam b'shar shamu b'makifim, and the nations of the world, their shorish is in the makifim. They're more in the external element. V'zeu sheyesh b'koicham levar, and that's why we have the koach to fix l'zayim midos to tohu, to the 7 attributes of the world of tohu, ulahapich, and to convert b'chinas choshech ha'elyon la'or, the supernal darkness, into light keniskaliel. We're just going to learn this next little piece, and then we're done. V'zeu, for today. V'zeu, and this is the meaning of a yisem li segula mikola amim. You will be to me a segula from all the nations. What does that mean? By you fixing all the nations, v'yisem li, by you, the Jewish people, fixing the world during the time of the repair, which was from the giving of the Torah until yesterday. Okay? Until the time, the whole period of the repair time. What will we become? We will become segula. That will make us into a segula. Now he's going to explain what is the segula. The segula is segol hey. The word segula is divided into 2 words. Segol hey. Now segol is one of the nekudos. In the vowels, there's kametz, which makes, in Hebrew, there's the vowels. Kametz makes it it's a ah, and patach makes it ah. And then there's a segol. Segol makes sound. Now, the segol is 3 dots. So what does that mean? We will become a segol. And from what will we be the segol? We will be the segol from the hay. Segol, hay, segula. What did we learn earlier? Where is all the repair have to be done? In Malchus, in the hay. Malchus is where we have Shem Ban 52. All the breakage falls, all the debris falls into Malchus. That's why you have a world that's constructed from Malchus. That's a mixture of good and bad, Klippa, Kedusha, everything mixed together. We have to sort it all out. The Jewish people go into that hay, and from the hay they become a segula, a segol. What does that mean? Shazeh, why they bitter the Zayim Midos? That's through the beer of the 7 Midos, which are Shen Shirish Ayin Sarim, which is the root of the 70 ministering angels, the Noga, which is the source of the 70 nations, which is the source of the entire mixture of good and bad, which is in the world. And how do we fix it? Al Yedei HaTorah. We fix it through the Torah. Shu B'Bchinas, and the Torah is Teferes. What did we say earlier? Torah is a combination of Chesed and Gevura, fire and Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, Mekel Chumrah. Everything is a bullet mixed. And everything in Torah, there's 2 sides, and we always come to the center, the middle. So that's Teferes. Teferes is a segol, because what's Teferes? It's a mix, Chesed, Gevura, and Teferes. So Teferes is really, it's made up of the first 2, and it's the blender, number 3, that we spoke about it in last night's share as well, how number 3 blends number 1 and number 2 together. That's the segol. But that's called segol hatachton. That's called the lower segol. Because there's 2 shapes to a segol. One shape of a segol is 2 dots and then 1 dot below it. Another shape of a segol, which is very rare, is that you turn it over the other way, and the 1 dot is on the top and the 2 dots are on the bottom. The Zohar refers to that as a segulta. A segol is what we know. There's a segol and there's a segulta. So segol is Teferes, which is a recipient of Chesed and Gevura, Teferes. What's a segulta? Segulta is a much higher segol. Because the segulta is the upper 3. Keser, Chachma, Bina. And that's the reason why it's the opposite order. Because Chachma and Bina are 2 friends. one on the right side, one on the left side, right? Chachma and Bina. Keser is on top, singular. So that's why the shape is one dot on top and below that. But in the other way, in Tiferes, Chesed and Gevura are above Tiferes. So they're higher, and Tiferes is the third on the bottom. So the way it works, however, is as follows. We go down through our power of Tiferes, harmony and compassion for the world. Tiferes is compassion. It's our compassion and caring for the world. We refine the world through the instructions that we get from Torah, which is a blend of Chesed and Gevura, and bring about Segol Hey, and once we rectify all the sparks, we turn over and go and rise up to become a Segulta. V'zeu shenikra Segula, and that's why it says V'yisam li Segula mikola amim, from all the nations. Now, I'll tell you even a greater secret. Revealing a secret. The powers that we have to fix in the world are primarily two powers, Esav and Yishmael. Chesed Yishmael is the Chesed of Klippa, and Esav is the Gevura of Klippa. Esav and Yishmael, the root of all the 70 nations, because 35 of the 70 are Muslim, and 35 of the 70 are Christian. That's the split of humanity. Then you have a couple of Buddhists, which I don't know where they hang out. But mainly it's the Christian, and that's the split. We, the Jewish people, but they don't have the Muslims and the Christians don't have harmony. It's one, it's extreme, one way or the other way. The Jewish people are the dot that goes below them. That's why they dominate over us through the exile. They're on top. We're under them in their countries. So we're like that little dot that hangs out beneath. But we pull the energy out. Clarify, until we elevate them. And that's the meaning. V'yisam li segula mikola amim. That's from the sparks of holiness that you're taking from the nations. And then you rise up and you become a segulta. And it was that, and we learned earlier, we access the Keser, Chachma, and Bina lights, and that's Moshiach. From this that we elevate from all the nations. You see? From the Chesed, and I'm not making this stuff up. From the Chesed and the Gevura of Esav and Yishmael. Nikra Segula, then we're called Segula of Adai Lamev. So now let's go back to the original pasuk. That's V'yisam li Segula Mikola Amim is a pasuk that says when Hashem gave us the Torah. So Hashem is giving us the Torah now and giving us the job to rectify the world. Now we go back to the pasuk in Tehillim that David HaMelech is saying. Ki Yaakov bachar loy ka. That Yaakov chose. We said earlier, we were chosen to do the repair. Yaakov Davka. Yaakov is the Tiferes, the Segol. The Segol needs to do the repair. Once we're done the repair, then Yisroel becomes the up. There's a difference between Segula and Liskulaso. Segula is the lower Segol. Tiferes, the lower. Segulaso is the higher Segol. So after Yaakov bachar loika, after Yaakov has finished the work, then what? Yisroel rises lizgulaso to be his segula. That's the segulta. That's what he's saying. Yisroel lizgulaso b'chinas segoil elyon. That's the supernal segoil. The b'chinas gimel rishayna is the kesach chachma bina. The first three of kesach chachma bina k'niskaliel. V'hainu b'yamoisa Moshiach, and that's in the days of Moshiach. Sheyakablu pnimiyas haTorah. We are going to start receiving the innermost of the Torah. Kasev yaskil avdi, my servant Moshiach will be yaskil. Achash leimus habirurim the eitzadas. After we finish the rectifications of the eitzadas k'niskaliel al yedei tshuva, through tshuva. And over here he says, interesting. Ma'asim tovim, good deeds, but he emphasizes a unique way of doing good deeds. A Moshiachtig way. In other words, there is good deeds, that we do throughout history, but then the last generation is going to have the privilege, the generation of Moshiach, and it's going to be Moshiach himself that's going to teach the generation to do the good deeds in this unique way. And what is that? Maisim tovim ba'oil malchus shamayim. Good deeds, doing them with simply the yoke of heaven. Shlema, perfect, doing them just because God said. Why? You can do a mitzvah many ways. You can do mitzvahs out of inspiration. You know the reasons. You want something. You want olam haba. You want to get something. There's always those mitzvahs that are done out of any kind of motivation other than simple obedience that God said are only drawing from chachma and down. But our access point over here is to convert darkness to light. Keser needs to be revealed. The darkness, the potential. For that, you need something that reaches in Keser. So two things reach Keser. Tshuva reaches Keser, because tshuva takes darkness and converts it to light. There's something else that reaches Keser. The simple observance of a mitzvah for no reason at all, just because, reaches the Ab. Why? Because it's the lowest thing. It's the lowest thing, and the lowest is wedged in the highest. The simplest is wedged in the highest. It's not a madrega. If you're doing it and you're burning with love and excitement and passion and this and that, that's a madrega. That's somewhere in the middle. It doesn't reach the high. Dafka, the lowest, and fine. You have nothing. You have no reason to do it. You're just doing it because you have to. That also reaches Keser and reveals Keser. And it says Moshiach is going to teach Yidden how to do mitzvahs with simple, just because. So what did Moshiach do in our generation? He started the tshuva movement and brought back thousands of Jews to doing tshuva. And he made mivtzayim where you reach out to Jews to do mitzvahs just because. It's genius. No one, and you realize when you ask people to do a mitzvah, you don't tell them a reason. No one in Chabad goes to tell people to do a mitzvah. You're going to go to Gan Eden, your life is going to be good, try Shabbos. There are other organizations that do that. That's the way Arachim is Makarev Yidden. That's the way, what's his name, the big guy in Israel, the Sephardi guy who gets thousands of whatever his name is there, fire and brimstone rabbi, I don't know, I forgot his name. He has thousands of people listening to him. But it's all, there's a certain motivation. Either you're going to be punished, or you're going to do this, or you're going to get this, blah, 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 blah. The Rebbe sent out his messengers to go to Jews and say to Jews one thing: you're Jewish. Put on tefillin. Why? Because you're Jewish. So what? That's what a Jew does. That's pure oil malchus shamayim. That's because God said so. Nothing else. The purest mitzvah. Simple mitzvah. That's the last preparation for Mashiach's coming. The tshuva and mitzvahs ba'oil malchus shamayim. Shal yedei zeh dafka this, hu sheyahapich gam choshech de klipas noiga la'or. This is going to convert the choshech of klipas noga to light, k'moshe kosev b'Mashiach, and like it says by Mashiach, no'um hagever. This is what David HaMelech says in his last song. We're going to speak about that in a minute. David HaMelech said in his last words, his last song, David HaMelech's been singing his whole life, and in the end of his life, he sang one more shira. It's recorded in Shmuel Bey's Perek Chav Gimel in the first 7 psukim. It's called Eile Divrei David Ha'acharoinim. These are the last words of David. Let's think what that means. David HaMelech's last words is referring to the end of the final manifestation of the kingdom of David. That's Moshiach. He's David in his final stage. And what does he talk about over there? No'um hagever hukam oil. And he adds the word Moshiach right after. Which can be read that Moshiach is the one who is going to hukam. He's the one who establishes oil, the yoke. Doing things just because. Uloi shel Torah mitzvahs. The yoke of Torah. the Rebbe also gave us to learn Rambam. Most Jews like learning Daf Yomi. You know why you like learning Daf Yomi? It's a great thing. Jews learn Daf Yomi. Thousands, hundreds of frum Jews learn Daf Yomi. Daf Yomi is pleasurable. It's pleasurable. Gemara is pleasurable. Rambam, I'm not saying, but most of the time is the most boring load that you can have on your shoulder every single day. 3 chapters of Rambam, you go crazy. It's not like great. It's the yoke of Torah. Do you realize that? The Rebbe is the one who made the yoke of Torah and the yoke of mitzvahs. Do a mitzvah because you're Jewish. Nothing else. Why? The not's tchilasan b'soifan. The beginning is wedged in the end. Keser is wedged in Malchus. And Malchus is simple obedience. Yoke. Davka. Shehein divrei David o acharoinim. And the Rashi says, la'afuke, this comes to negate his first words. What does that mean? Shuhu keser shem toiv de Moshiach. Moshiach Tafke is going to carry the Keser Shem Tov. It says there are 3 crowns. Keser Kahuna, Keser Malchus, and Keser Torah. But Moshiach has the 4th crown, Keser Shem Tov. First of all, he's related to the Baal Shem Tov. That's Keser Shem Tov. But it says that the Keser Shem Tov will go higher than all the other crowns because it reaches in the real Keser. Shalamaylam and Arishonim. It's more than the first. But what it really means is, it's more than the first. It's more than the first words of King David. That means David HaMelech's words in Tehillim, all the other songs, are all inspired by some kind of an inspiration. His last words is a song about simple obedience. Just the doing, the act, the purity of the act alone. That's the chiddush of our generation. The work of the earlier shiros, of the earlier crowns, it's through chachma and bina. It's not reaching to the keser itself. And that's why David HaMelech, his early song, that means his earlier life, is referring to 70 years he got from Adam Arishon. Adam Arishon is Chachma. So David HaMelech didn't have life. He got it from... That means Malchus, the power of kingship, is receiving from Chachma, from Adam. That means David HaMelech is motivated by Chachma, by wisdom. That's the Chachma and Bina. But Moshiach is not going to be receiving from Adam life. Moshiach doesn't even have life. Malchus doesn't have life. So just like David HaMelech doesn't have life, Moshiach doesn't have life. But David HaMelech settles to receive his life from Adam Arishon. Moshiach says, I don't want from Adam Arishon. Chaim Shalom Emcha, I want from you yourself. That means from Keser, from the Ein Sof. And that's connected to Ele Divrei David HaAcharoinim. That's when David HaMelech, his last words, he's referring to Moshiach. Because we know David is really Moshiach as well, his neshama. But Acharoinim, in the end. Ubemoshiach nemer Chaim Shalom Emcha nasata loy b'bchinas nitzchiyas, the Ein Sof, the infinite mamish. And that's where we talk about Kamosh HaKasav David Melech Yisroel Chai V'Kayom. On that level, David lives on forever. Kabbalah's oil. Eksiv Bein, it says by the pasuk Lamar Behamisra, the increased governorship. In that pasuk it says Lahachen Oisa, that the Eibishter is going to establish Malchus, that kingship, Ulesada, and to support her, Me'ata v'yad oilam, from now on and forever. Because once the life flow in Malchus, which is in Melech HaMoshiach, in David HaMelech, in Melech HaMoshiach, is coming not from Adam, not from wisdom, but it's coming from essence, it's coming from Keser, then it's going to be Ma'ata v'Adolam, a kingship that will never end. And life will be forever. Stated elsewhere. Woo. Based on this, and the next page we're going to learn. Let's learn not the next page, just, we have to finish because we're going to finish up just the next paragraph, because like this we finished an inyan. Ubekol ze yuvan, page chaf, ubekol ze yuvan inyan beis madreges bechlal. Now we'll understand the 2 levels. The first one is the purification of the 7 midos through the chachma and bina of the Torah haniglois. That's through the revealed Torah, which was given to us by Moshe Rabbeinu back then. Ad Moshiach, until the days of Moshiach. Shenikra segula. Then we're called the lower segol. The lower segol. The Habeis, and the second one, Birur Hasheni, is the second Birur, Shalamayla Menu, that happens afterwards, Betashlim HaBirurim, the Eitz Hadas. When we finish the Birurim of the Eitz Hadas, of the Tree of Knowledge, Shazeu Ayadei Tshuva Dafka, then afterward finished, and we do Tshuva in the end of days, Lahapich, to convert Gama Ralatov, also bad to good, which is Liois Gamal Yedei Zeh, which this causes what? Giloy Ahelim, the Pnimius HaTorah. This causes the secrets of the Torah to be revealed. Shabigimel Rishonis, that's in the first 3, the Keser Chachma and Bina of Keser Chachma and Bina. Sha'az Nikra Segulasai Segala Elyoin. Then we're called Segulasai, the higher Segel. And then we will also have the 3 nations, the Keni, and these are the borders of Yecheskel, which are different than the borders that are mentioned in Parshas Matos Masai this week. Because in the Parsha this week it's mentioned borders of the first conquest. It will change then from the first borders, Keniskalel, that we said earlier. That's the reason why the Eibishter promised it to Avram, even though we didn't give it to them instantly. Because through the bitter of the 7 midas of Toyu, to convert darkness, it will be given to us, even the Keni, Knizi v'Kadmaini, because all of that has to do with this conversion of darkness, so we can be mamshich, the essence of Pnimius HaTorah. But now, before the bitter of this, we didn't finish the 7 emotions to fix them. Yisroel rak zayin umois. The Jewish people only have a connection, have a relationship to the 7 umois, levarer lezayin midos, to purify the 7 midos k'niskaliya. Elakach Omar, and that's why he says al Tatzur es Moav. Moshe Rabbeinu warns the Jewish people that now let's leave Moav for the time being. Let's not antagonize Moav. Let's leave Moav. Rak b'yemei David nichbishu. In the days of David, they were conquered. Why? B'chitzonius, but why? Not b'pnimius, but why? Mipnei shahaya boy ha'ara me'ein the Moshiach ben David. Because David HaMelech had a little bit of Moshiach in him. That's why he has some shaykhs to at least temporarily take them. But the ultimate conquest is through Moshiach. Achine kol zeh b'yemoisa Moshiach she'yah aza ara the gimel rishayna is the kesach chachma bina levad. Now he says, however, all of this is what, but even Yemoisa Mashiach, it's only a ray of Keser Chachma and Bina. V'gam zeh, but it's not the essence of the essence. That's going to be only in the 7th millennium. V'gam zeh eina bo rak mitzat koyach ma'isa habirurim. It's going to be revealed through the power of what we've done now. The Eitz Hadas of the Eitz Hadas lahapeh choshech la'or, to convert darkness to light, canal. Shazeo b'tshuva ma'isem tovim, that's to tshuva and good deeds, ub'tefillah, and all the work that we've done, canal. She'en kan rak b'chinas giloy ha'helem da'atzmas orein sof baruch hu. What we have over here is a revelation of the concealment of the essence of the orein sof. V'hainu ma she'yigala, this is that what he will reveal. Kol oimkim de pnimius HaTorah. All the secrets, all the depth of pnimius HaTorah, Mini choshech ha'elyon, from the supernal darkness, shenikra choshech sisra, which is called choshech is his hiding, u'kamoi Moshe nigash ela arafel. Similar to the idea that Moshe approaches the dark cloud, which means to pull out from the darkness. She'ena rak b'chinas giloy ha'helem. It's the giloy of the concealment, the chachma stima. The chachma stima is usually the chachma that's private. Shenikra chachma shebekeser. It's called chachma shebekeser bechlal k'niskliel. It's not keser shebekeser, it's chachma shebekeser. Avala or havara habeis, but the second crossing, sheyiyah ben ahar pros, which can be in the Euphrates River canal, hulamayla harbem is much higher than this, keniskalial, and this is what he's going to explain, ve'inyan hu, and the idea is. Till here. Now, I am going to say that my initial plan today was to continue van inyan hu, and go till Chav Gimel by Ma'ata Yuvin Shirish Inya Machloikis Rebbe Lezer Rebbe Yeshua. After all of this, he comes back to explain the Machlokes of Rebbe Lezer Rebbe Yeshua. So this next piece on the next page is only to add what's that next elevation that happens in Tchias HaMesim, not Tchias HaMesim, in the Elef HaShvi, and then he goes back. Based on all of this, let's go address the initial questions of the Machlokes of Rebbe Lezer Rebbe Yeshua, when Moshiach has to come. So I was going to finish this today, and then Thursday, but I'm having mercy on my audience, and I'm not going to finish this today. I didn't think it would take so long, and we're going to continue Be'ezus Hashem the next part. Once we get to the Chav Gimel, Ma'ata Yovan and Sharis, I haven't even learned yet, so that's what I'm going to be busy myself on the next 2 days, and hopefully all of this is just getting richer and richer and richer and richer. I'm Chaya. It's going to take us probably till Rosh Hashanah to finish the Maimer. No, I would say if we do it twice a week for 3-4 weeks, we might finish. We will finish Be'ezus Hashem. But how can we not teach this? This is like we want Moshiach to be here. We have to uncover what. Aye.